Vision of Westchester, in association with the Madison Square Garden Network, presents high school football. Today from Rye, New York, it's the Harrison Huskies with a perfect record of 5-0, taking on the Rye Garnets with a record of 4-1. Eric Lubitz along with Peter Archiello here at Rye for the game. The Huskies and the Garnets, Westchester County's biggest rivalry by 4. But, Peter, in the last 9 years, Harrison has won 8 of 9, including last year when they dismantled the Garnets and scored 42 points, the most they've ever scored in this long, storied tradition.
Yeah, Harrison has absolutely dominated this rivalry in the 90s, winning every year but 1996, which is a 7-0 upset shocker at Harrison. You know, it might be time that the tide turns. There's a lot of pressure on Harrison. They're expected to be the state champs, which is a very, very tall order for them. But more importantly, Rye is a team that's got a lot of talent, and Harrison may come into this game a little bit gun-shy of what may happen, because this is a huge rivalry and strange things happen in this game.
Yeah, but they come into the game with their best player, the county's best player, the section's best player, the all-time leading rusher in Section 1, Sam Maldonado.
Yeah, I mean, Artie Troilo, if you've got to go into a big game, you want to go into a big game with a kid like Sammy Maldonado. Over 1,300 yards this year on less than 100 carries, an average of 14.4 carries, the leading rusher in section history. This kid is the real deal. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. If I'm Artie Troilo, I want to get the ball in his hands 25 to 30 times in this game, and then he won't have to worry about any jinxes or any shocks.
The Garnets are a mixed offense. They can pass. Mark Saraceno's a fine quarterback, but they've had a great performance from their tailback, Will Nixon, this year, who's been in the end zone, Pete, 9 times.
A very, very balanced offense for Rye, which is a little bit strange for them. They throw the ball well. Saraceno's a good quarterback, but Will Nixon is the kid that they key on. He's the kid that the whole offense runs around. He's got over 600 yards. He's a good, strong back, maybe a little bit small to play against a bigger Harrison team, but how this kid goes is how the Rye offense goes.
What's interesting, if the look at the coaching matchups, is that Artie Troilo, Harrison's coach, he played his high school football at Harrison. Dino Gar, he played his high school football at Rye. So it's truly a Rye-Harrison situation when you talk about the coaches. And we did talk to the coaches this week, starting with Husky coach Art Troilo.
For Harrison, there's sectional and regional, and maybe even state. For Rye, there's this Saturday. Is that an advantage for them?
Well, first of all, for Harrison, there's just this Saturday as well. I mean, right now we're tied for the league. The winner of this game moves on as the #1 seed in Conference B South. So for both teams, they're both alive for regionals and states and everything else. I mean, the team that leaves this field on Saturday as the winner, I believe they're going to be the favorite to win the whole sectional and move on to the regionals.
Rye is a pretty decent team with some pretty good players.
Rye's an excellent football team. They've progressed during the year. They've gotten better and better. They got an outstanding football coach. They have an outstanding running game, and they're very well balanced. They throw the ball pretty well. So, we know Rye's the best team we're going to play this year. So we're ready for Rye, and it's just a big game. It's a big rivalry, and there's a lot more things involved. But we just want to play the game and get on with it. And believe me, we're not looking past them. And I'm sure that they're going into the game thinking they're going to win too.
Does your club feel like state championship team?
No, right now we're playing 1 week at a time, and this is, for anybody who knows what kind of rivalry this is the biggest game of the year, regardless of states or sectionals or leagues, or if both teams are 0-8 or both teams are 8-0, it wouldn't matter. This game's the biggest game of the year. Anything could happen, and we must be ready for it.
The Rye-Harrison game is the biggest game all year in these two towns. What is it like to be such a big part of it?
Well, it's a lot of fun. I think both communities get all fired up for it, and I think it's a bragging rights for both communities for the year. And I think that in high school, I think that's, as far as high school sports are concerned, it's what every coach and every player wants to be a part of. So, for us, Ryan Harrison is just a lot of, good time, intensity, but a lot of fun.
Is there anything a coach can do to stop Maldonado?
Well, coach doesn't stop Maldonado, his players do. So in response to that, we're going to try to prepare ourselves as best we can to be in the right position. Our biggest concern is that we don't give up the big play, and of course he can do that every time. He's that kind of a quality back. But we can't be concerned about one person. They have a very talented ball club, and although Maldonado had a great career there, he's had a lot of other people help him. So it's a tough assignment. We're going to try to do the best we can.
Your halfback Will Nixon is having a pretty good year himself. Does he need a big game?
Well, Will's been terrific for us this year, but I think Will will be the first one to tell you that his success is because the team has been successful. Blocking for him and doing just a great job in terms of preparation and stuff. So Will's going to have a good game. If he has a good game, it means that we're doing a good job as a team.
Peter, it's certainly the game for Rye, but for Harrison, these days, the game is the state championship game. That was for them last year, though they didn't win it, and they hope it's the game for them again this year. That's a lot of pressure on their backs.
Yeah, there's definitely a target on Artie Troilo's back this year, and I think that he's feeling that pressure. Everyone expects him to get back to the state championship. They expect him to win it behind Sammy Maldonado, a very, very difficult thing. More than 200 teams are vying to be the final two in that game, and I think that's going to weigh on Artie. Now, he's also a very smart guy. You talked about how he was at Harrison, was a star at Harrison. Dino Gar was a star at Rye, and when you talk about that, Artie knows the importance of this game, and he knows it's one step at a time to a championship.
Can Rye win if everything falls right? Does everything have to fall right?
I think it has to fall right. There's a bit of surprise that need to kind of play into this game. I think Rye needs to put the ball in the air. They need to mix it well, run and pass. They had a game last year where they threw the ball 60 times. Unprecedented in high school. I think they need to run the ball as well as pass the ball, and they've got a shot. But more importantly, their defense has to go into the game with the feeling that Sammy Maldonado can be stopped. No one's done it yet, but they've got to think that they can stop him.
And we'll find out if they do. Coming up with our kickoff, it's Rye and Harrison. It's the Cablevision High School Football Game of the Week next.
A Cablevision Millennium Minute. Spotlight on Westchester County. 3 centuries ago, colonists settled a bountiful land bounded by Long Island Sound and the Hudson River. They built thrifty farm hamlets, established great manor estates, and the land became a rich and prosperous region of New York colony named Westchester County. A century passed and revolution swept the land, devastating its towns and decimating its people. But soon, post roads and turnpikes carried passengers and produce, and factories and cottage industries gave needed products. In mid-19th century, the railroad brought increased riches. Towns grew by station stops. Businessmen built elegant country mansions. Dams and reservoirs were constructed, dislocating towns and downstream industries. With the 20th century, automobiles streamed on scenic highways. Suburbs and recreation have grown. Now, world corporations with handsome architecture and works of art abound as Westchester County proudly enters the new millennium. Cablevision, raise your expectations.
Are there any questions? White, you're the visiting team. You get to call. 45, you're going to call? Okay, this is a tail. This is a head. Call it while it's in the air. I'm going to let it hit the ground. He called heads. We have a tail. Okay, Rye won the toss, and you will receive. Rye will receive. White, you'll have the choice in the second half. Which goal would you like to defend? That one? Okay. Would you put your backs that way? Rye, put your backs this way, please. Rye won the toss, elected to receive. Harrison will kick from down here. All right, guys, let's shake hands, have a good ball game.
No video. No video. All right, and Pete, we are set for some football here. The Garnets and the Huskies, as we will talk about this one, and as we just did, they're getting all psyched up on the Rye sideline, and momentum real important for them. Maybe get a score first, at least not get down in a hurry.
Yeah, I think more importantly, it keeps Sammy Maldonado off the field and the ball out of his hands. That's why Dino Gar took the ball, did not decide to defer to the second half. He wanted to keep the ball out of Sammy's hands early, try to establish something offensively, and it was very, very important for him to do that, and they were able to do that by the virtue of winning the coin toss.
The officials for today's contest, which is the 68th meeting, Greg Payne, Gene Payne, our head referee, and his crew, Bill Strumke, Bob Snyder, and Joe Balillo.
Eric, it's real interesting to watch the two head coaches prior to the game. Dino Gar has been around it at all for a long time. You know, Artie's been around it for a long time too. Artie, you know, a little bit younger than Dino. You saw them kind of prowling the sidelines before the game. You could tell that they've got some, you know, there's some nervous energy there, and it's going to be important as to who jumps out first. Not maybe with the lead, not maybe with the score, but which team can start to control the tempo of the game. Harrison wants to get it out there, wants to run it, wants to get in their offense's hands and have the opportunity to play tough defense. Rye, on the other hand, wants to control the ball, control the clock, because the longer they have the ball on offense, the less time Sammy Maldonado has it on defense.
There was Dino Gar, 24th year, 145, 67, and 3. Quite the record for Coach Gar. Here we go. We are set for football. Sam Maldonado puts his foot into it, and we are underway. And it's a good kick, and it is a whistle early as the kick landed in the end zone. Will Nixon was back there.
Looks like an offsides on Harrison to start the game.
And they will redo it. They will do it again.
Kicking team, 5 yards, re-kick.
That's an unusual early penalty for the Huskies. That was Gene Payne, the referee, making that call. So Maldonado will kick it from the 35-yard line. And we'll get set for action again. Will Nixon's the deep man for the Garnets. He stands right now at about his 3-yard line. Featured him in our pregame as well. And here we go. Take 2. The game. No flags. And it is a bad start for the Garnets. Number 21, Mike Koza, falls down backpedaling, and Rye will start at their 5-yard line. Look at the Rye offense. Their quarterback is a junior, 6 foot, 180-pounder, Mark Saraceno, who took over midway last year and threw for over 600 yards in only half a season.
Yeah, this kid's only a junior, Eric, and he's got a lot of time to mature. He's really come a long, long way. Took over the reins about halfway through last year. He's thrown for over 300 yards already, put the ball up 50 times, completed a little bit less than half of that. He's got 4 TD passes and 4 interceptions. He's a very, very poised kid for a junior.
From the 5, Saraceno and the Garnets, Koza in motion. First play from scrimmage. And they will throw, far, and it's overthrown, intended for Koza. All right, let's look at the rest of the Garnets offense. In addition to Saraceno, Nixon, their star back, Stevens, the fullback, one of the other captains, Koza, and then Peter Biseglia, a 3-year starter at split end, and Tard Eiler. The offensive line led by Dan Zwerger and Mark Armas, 2 seniors, and Pete, only 5 seniors on the entire team.
Yeah, they are a very, very young team. They've got 3 seniors start on offense, on the offensive line, including the tight end, and 3 juniors. That's a tough thing. They've got to really step up in a big game.
2nd and 10. First time Nixon gets a touch, and he's tripped up short of the first down, but nice positive yardage for Will Nixon. The Harrison Husky defense has been sensational this year, and their front 5 looks like that. Maraglino, Maldonado, Calandruccio, Lambiase, Bisignano, and then the backers, Veet and Heron, and then a talented secondary, which includes Servideo, so they play their quarterback back there as well.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of vowels on that defensive side for Harrison, but I'll tell you something else, there's a lot of size too. They go 240, 280, 240, 220. Sammy Maldonado, the smallest man on the defensive line, at 215.
And now on 3rd and 5, did they take too much time?
No, they took a timeout.
Yeah, they did. They call an early timeout with 11:04 to go as we look at Dino Gar. And Pete, probably a good timeout because you don't want to let it get away. If you have to call in the first minute, you do.
Well, yeah, exactly. You do not want to get in the situation where you allow Harrison, where you give Harrison a break. You've got to make breaks happen against Harrison. You can't give them anything because if you give it to them, they're going to take it and they're going to hurt you, and they're going to hurt you bad. So that's a good time out there. You regroup. You got yourself a 3rd and 5 or 6, and you want to get a good positive yardage play. Look for Saraceno to throw the ball on this play. Look for him to try to get to the big tight end Biseglia, try to get something in the flat, a little out. Just get the first down and keep it moving. You do not want to punt the ball out of your own end zone on the first series against this team.
All right, Joe Lombardi is part of our announcing team today, and he's got something. Joseph.
Eric, talking a lot about this great rivalry between Rye and Harrison during the course of the game. You talk about Harrison's dominance during the 90s. A 33-game winning streak by Rye going into the 1960 game. That's the record in this series. Incredible, considering Harrison leads the all-time series. Back upstairs.
Some trouble with Joseph's microphone. We're working on that. 3rd down and 5 following the timeout for the Garnets. 11:04 to go. First quarter. First 3rd down situation. Looks to be a passing down. We'll see. Saraceno, Rye with 2 of their receivers out right. He'll roll. Nobody open. He'll fight for the first down, and he'll have the first down. And how about that? Mark Saraceno, headsy play. He ran around the end, and he got the first down, and he was tackled by Bill Herron.
If we get a look at that play, Eric, I'll tell you something. Rye got away with murder there. Peter Biseglia had a full-blown hold on Rich Lambiase on the end. It'll be tough to see from this angle unless they widen it out a little bit. But, man, Biseglia had a full-blown hold on Lambiase, and without that, that play goes for a loss of yardage. But referees are like everyone else. They don't catch everything, and Rye gets the first break.
Yeah, and a first down. Justin Williams, the initial hit. It's from the 22-yard line. 1st and 10. Garnets. And this is the first we've seen of the fullback, Mike Stevens, 6'1" senior co-captain, and he picks up 4.
It's interesting. Rye has, it looks like, I can't believe that they do this during the regular season all the time in their running package, but it looks like Rye is trying to just take the legs out of the big Harrison defensive lineman, just knock them down, lock them up a little bit, and let those running backs get through the hole. That's what they've done on the first 3 running plays, and it's been successful so far. I mean, they got the initial first down.
Yeah, they're moving. Played over 2 minutes in the quarter. Saraceno, a little out. Kozas is going to be a loss. And that play didn't have anything going for it. Harrison figured out right away. In on the tackle for the Huskies, Matt Miller, their safety back there, number 20, and Charlie Veet, their hungry linebacker.
Watch Rich Lambiase on this play. He reads right away that the split end had stepped back, and he gets good penetration across the line along with Charlie Veet, and they get Koza behind the line for a little loss of yardage.
They did. A loss of 4. It's 3rd down, 10, caught 11. 9:18 to go here in the first quarter. Nixon, jam from behind. So not much for Will Nixon right there, and Rye will be forced to punt. Huskies defense coming up strong.
Yeah, and Sammy Maldonado came from the left defensive end and chased Will Nixon down in the hole. That is one of the advantages of having a great athlete like Sammy Maldonado on the defensive side. In addition, or complementing what he does on the offensive side, what he can do there defensively, running a back down like that is just invaluable.
First punt of the day here for Rye. Saraceno does their punting and kicking, one of the better kickers in the section as well. Oh, and he gets off a horrible punt. Wow. He shanked it, and that is great field position coming up, and we're going to wait to see where the side official marks it, Pete, and that is about a 8-yard punt or so.
Yeah, about an 8-yard punt, and I tell you, that's one of the hazards of playing in a big game like this. Anything that you do, big or small, gets incredibly magnified.
Pulsar Videos, the quarterback for the Harrison Huskies. The first time we get a chance to see Paul out there. Pete, and there he is.
Yeah, this kid's a good quarterback. He's a smart kid. Played with this team last year, obviously. He really runs the offense, and that's important. You know, when you've got a great back like Sammy Maldonado, you still have to create a pattern, and that's what Paul Servideo does. He does a very, very nice job of it.
All right, here we go. First play from scrimmage from the Huskies. Wonderful field position, the 30-yard line of Rye. 8:21 to go in the first quarter. Maldonado, what a shock, fighting, twisting, and real tough to bring down, but he is brought down by Seho Ham after a modest gain of 2. The offense for the Huskies. Around Servideo, of course, Maldonado, all-time leading rusher in Section 1. We'll talk about him throughout the broadcast. Mark Maraglino, the fullback, is also one of the better runners in Section 1. Justin Williams, the wingback, and then DeFeo and Herr in the ends. The offensive line, and they're good as well. Calandruccio, Veet, they return them. Second down. Second straight play to Maldonado, and he's wrapped up from behind. And Mike Stevens got a hold of his jersey, and he barely gained anything. The defense for the Rye Garnets. The front four, led by Zwerger, the two-way senior, 6'4", 245, and then the talented linebacker crew. You've already seen Stevens and Ham in on tackles, and then the secondary, Koza, Eiler, Cotter. But Pete, you're not going to stop Sammy like that every down.
Well, you're not, but this is where two great longtime coaches are going to play a huge role in this game. Rye had 8 players up in the box in those first 2 plays to stop Maldonado.
3rd and 7. First pass for the Huskies. Servideo over the middle, has a man. It's a first down. It's a touchdown. It goes to Chris DeFeo, 6-0.
And that's exactly what I just said. It's going to take some smarts. Now, Artie Troilo, knowing Sammy Maldonado, what he's done, could have put the ball in his hands there. But he said, no, they're going to put 8 guys in the box. I'm going to put it in the air. He gets it to Chris DeFeo. DeFeo had 202 all-purpose yards last week, a 54-yard TD reception, a 32-yard TD reception. This kid can catch the ball. Don't think Harrison can't put the ball up in the air. And that guy there just got the first leg up in a big, big game.
Wow, 6-0. They obviously were keying on Maldonado, and they found the seam. The extra point is up, and it is 7-0. Rudy Arcara makes it 7-zip Huskies. And Peter, here it is, first pass, first TD.
Yeah, it's just good. You see, Rye comes with the blitz. Number 21, Kazak comes with the blitz. Just gets here a little bit late. DeFeo makes a good catch and just gets to the middle of the field, protecting the ball. This kid's got good speed, and he's in the end zone. Rye has to really watch out now, because if you open the door twice with Maldonado and then you throw that passing game in, it could be a very, very long day. It is very tough to defense this Harrison team.
I mean, we're looking at a special team here with Harrison. This is the last year into the state finals, where they lost to Lackawanna in a close game, and came right down to it in the fourth quarter. Harrison currently ranked 2nd in the state behind Lackawanna this year. Joe Lombardi.
Hello again, Eric. The mic is up and running, and so are the Harrison Huskies. Art Troilo saying it's so important to come out strong in this game. He said in years, as both a player and coach, he has seen players so emotional going into this game, he didn't think they'd be ready to play. As a result, he feels jumping out early is so very important. Harrison has done it, and really, they've done it without their star, Sam Maldonado, back upstairs.
That's right, Joe. Last year, 42-7 Harrison in a complete blowout, 97-28 Harrison. So they've owned this the last few years, and it's funny, Rye Pete has come out, it seems fired up, and playing good football, and one play, and there it is.
Well, it goes back to the shank punt by Saraceno. You cannot give a team like Harrison the opportunity to do that. As you see Sammy Maldonado almost kick it out of the back of the end zone. This kid does everything but play in the band and sell popcorn. But you cannot give Harrison the opportunity that Rye gave them by shanking that punt in the first drive.
Here's our first scoring drive of the day. The Harrison Huskies only needed 3 plays, and they won 30 yards. Chris DeFeo, 27-yard touchdown reception from the quarterback, Paul Servideo.
Now it's important for Rye to establish something. They did a good job with Nixon, with the ball in the hands of Will Nixon, and now they have to establish that, Eric, because they gave up the early touchdown to Harrison. It's a game of package. You have to put together a program to be successful.
Wow, Maldonado threw Nixon into the backfield for a loss of 2 or 3. And you know what? We talk about him on offense. Sam Maldonado, by far and away, is the best defensive player in Section 1.
Well, you know, Eric, this isn't Dino Gar's first clam bake. He's got to know that somebody's got to get a helmet on Sammy Maldonado on the defensive side of the ball, because that kid will chase down anybody anywhere, and the problem is he does it 9 times out of 10 behind your own line of scrimmage. So you have to put a helmet on him. The problem is Harrison has a very, very big defensive line, so you're double-teaming guys to try to get your offensive package together, and sometimes somebody comes free. But if that guy comes free, you're going to see a negative on the rushing yardage side.
On 2nd and 13, Koza with the handoff right into the line. goes no place. In fact, he'll lose a yard as well, and suddenly things are looking pretty good for Harrison.
Well, they're looking good, but you know, Rye is a team that, as long as they don't fall too far behind, I should say, they have the ability to put the ball in the air, and that is a very, very big tool. My opinion, if I come out in that second series, I put the ball in the air first play. Just try to create something. Get the ball down the field, and then start putting it in the hands of your running back.
3rd and 13, 5.5 to go, first quarter, 7-0 Harrison. Saraceno to throw, has protection, and it's almost intercepted by Justin Williams, intended for big tight end Peter Basiglia, 3-year starter, 6'2 senior, but nice play by Williams, who's, again, a veteran here for Harrison.
Right. Now, Saraceno's got to understand, he can't look for Basiglia every single play. He's got to pass the ball, got to spread it around to different receivers. But Justin Williams, from the cornerback position, steps in front right there, reads Basiglia dragging across the middle, and he steps across, and he should have picked it off, but it slips through his hands.
So it's 4th down. They went backwards that series. 4th and 13, maybe 14. 5:24 to go in the first, and it'll be the second punting situation of the quarter, and the first one was an 8 or maybe 9-yard punt for Saraceno, and this one's better.
Yeah, but this kid DeFeo can fly. He had a touchdown on a punt return last year.
There is a flag, and DeFeo finally goes down in midfield, but there is a flag.
Yeah, they're going to call Justin Williams on a very, very interesting block in the back call. Looks like he may have gotten Rob Felice on the outside, and Felice just basically ran by him. And Williams had his head behind him. Didn't really make all that much contact, but had his head behind him was enough for the referee to throw the flag.
Dan Zwerger made the tackle at midfield.
Okay, black captain.
And Peace it'll push him back 10
They were going to
yards.
get, there it is, a good look at it right there. Watch Justin Williams, gets the head, see the helmet behind the back of Rob Felice. That's going to get called a clip. Or
We had a clip, 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
yeah, you can't hide from a penalty like that. That one's pretty darn obvious. Works out well for Rye. It puts Harrison in a big hole.
Right, 15-yard penalty. So 2 penalties for 20 yards for the Huskies in the early going. And they will start for the first time in their own territory. Call it the 33-yard line. Servideo 1 for 1 and a touchdown in the first series. And there's Maldonado's best run of the day, although it only turns out to be 3 yards. A lot of black jerseys following number 5.
Yeah, when you've played 7 minutes and Sammy Maldonado's best run of the day is 6 yards, you've done a good job so far. Rye has to continue to do that. It looks like Dino Gar has chosen to put 6, 7, 8 guys up in the box, and Artie Troilo's got to counter that. He did a good job on that other drive by putting the ball in the air, but these 2 guys, like we said before, Eric, these are 2 guys that this isn't their first clam bake. Dino Gar, 145 wins, 67 losses, 3 ties, and Artie Troilo, not too bad himself, at 83, 38-1.
Maldonado again looking to the right side, and he is tackled after a short gain of 2. The host of black jerseys over there again, including Dan Zwerger, who's in on almost every tackle, one of their finer defensive players, 6'4", Dan Zwerger.
Yeah, the Rye defense is doing a very, very good job. Charlie Prade, John Canetto, Dan Zwerger, and Yoshi Tada have done a very good job of controlling the line of scrimmage thus far and not allowing those big gaping holes to open up that Maldonado's going to bust through and get 20 or 30 yards on you, or worse, a touchdown. So they've done a good job so far. This is a big play. 3rd and 3. You stop them here, you've sent a message.
From the 40, under 4 to go, first quarter, 7 Harrison, nothing Rye. Maldonado with the pitch to head of steam, the first down, and plenty more. Knocked out of bounds
And
at
the
the
face
40.
mask.
Yeah, that's going to be 15 more. Tackle made by Todd Eiler, junior cornerback, and I think he got some face mask.
Oh, he got more than a little, Eric. He got a full-blown hold of it. He had it. He almost had Sammy Maldonado's head turned around. But this is a play right here. It's a good out block. You get that little hole. Sammy's got that good speed, gets it to the outside. You know, Artie never carried the ball like that, but Sammy chooses to, and there it is right there. Wow, he got it twisted around. Mike Kaza got a real good grip on that thing. And that's going to give them a 1st and 10 at about the 25. And again,
On the defense, 15 yards from the end of the run. First down.
Yeah, that hurts. In fact, it was Kaza. Joe Lombardi's got something, Joe.
And a great run, his first great run of the game by Sammy Maldonado, Section 1's all-time leading rusher. The question, guys, will he play offense or defense in college? The list of schools recruiting him reads like a top 10 in the 1A ranks, I should say. Florida State, Penn State, you name it. He is the 22nd ranked running back in the nation by the Sporting News. Back upstairs.
Yeah, or kicking, because he just kicks it into the end zone every time. Servideo for the end zone, a wide open receiver, and he overthrew him, and boy, he's got to be kicking himself because Matt Miller, Pete, was 8 yards open.
Yeah, Servideo, that was a play that he had to make a little better throw on. He didn't make such a great throw. He had Matt Miller wide open down the left side, and they opened that up by getting those good running plays. You know, Maldonado sets up the passing game. I'll tell you something. My honest opinion about this kid, Sam Maldonado, besides him being a great back, I think he's going to end up at Georgia Tech, Eric. Ralph Friedgen's a guy from Harrison. I've got to believe he's got his tentacles in there. I know they're one of the teams, along with Florida State, that has been very, very interested in him. And I'll tell you something. You know, Joe asked the question, offense or defense? This kid's got to be on the offensive side of the ball.
3:29 left, first quarter. He's on it this time. Breaks a tackle, not the second one. Well, he did break the second one. And the third one. And he's got a first down, and that was just a heck of a run.
I'll tell you, you get a look at that, man. That's a highlight film right there, all in one play. This kid is very, very difficult to tackle. He's shifty, he's fast, he's big, he's strong. Those are ingredients for a great back, and this kid is one.
17 yards after a sluggish start. His last two rushes, 36 yards, and he's got it in, wow, what a run.
And we get the field level camera here, so it's going to be tough to see. But you can catch him. Look at him. He's just breaking tackles, keeps the legs churning, knees high. The kid is strong. He's tough. I'll tell you, this kid is a bona fide star, and he's going to be a difficult guy to shut down.
Ball inside the 10, first and goal. And the handoff goes to Rudy Arcara. And he is their kicker. As a kicker this year, all he's done is kick 22 out of 24 extra points. And he does a little running as well. Nothing that time.
Yeah, he's a good compliment. They got to bump him in there. You got to remember something with Harrison, though. It's very interesting. They've got about 22, 23 guys dressed. So any injury to this team or anybody who's got to sit out a game or anything like that, it could really be very, very detrimental. Sammy Maldonado does a lot, but he just can't do everything.
That's why they try to get their players in. Arcara, by the way, is a freshman. Second down after no gain from the 10. Arcara again, following the pile.
And that's 2 plays in a row that Maldonado sat out, caught his breath, and here he comes now, popping his helmet on. He's going to get back in the game, and they can take Arcara out of the tailback position, put Maldonado back in with that big fullback in front of him. Maraglino and Justin Williams comes into the backfield. They run almost a power I type formation, that big offensive line. It is very, very difficult to shut these guys down.
Good crowd on here, as always, in the biggest rivalry game in Westchester County. Neighboring towns, Harrison and Rye. Been playing all the way since 1929. Third and goal, Huskies already leading 7-0. Maldonado's looking to double that. It's 13-0.
You know, the interesting thing about Sam Maldonado is he gets such a good head of steam, and he's always leaning forward. That's the sign of a great back, leaning forward. This kid gets in the hole, he's leaning forward, he's got that good speed, comes off of a great head of steam, and he is very, very difficult to stop from any point of the field, but especially inside the 5-yard line.
That's his 12th touchdown of the season. He's close to 1,400 yards rushing.
Or keep in mind, this is a guy that broke the Harrison record, touchdown record, set by Art Troilo of, I think it was 33 or 34. I guess there was a little bit of a discrepancy about that. But he broke that last year, midway through the year. I mean, this kid is just a machine.
And speaking of Artie, what a back he was back in the early 80s. I mean, at the time, the Section 1's best running back, and he's true to his colors, maroon and white. He's been the coach for 14 years here, and now this a chance to take his team to the first ever Harrison State Championship. And what a job he's done, and it's a lot of pressure. Everyone's outgunning for him, like you said in the pregame.
Yeah, I mean, if you think for a second that some of his running ability hasn't rubbed off on Sam Maldonado, you're crazy. And you'll get a good look at this kid on the touchdown here. It comes out of that power I formation I talked about. Justin Williams up front with Mark Maraglino. And Maldonado, you see that lean forward? He's always going to land moving forward, and that is what the good backs do. And this kid from 3 yards out, I don't know if anybody could stop him.
Can Joe Lombardi stop him?
Maybe. Joe was good in his day.
Joseph?
Are you kidding? Never. I tell you what, you guys were talking about Art Troiler Jr. He is the latest recipient of the New York Giants Weekly Football Award, the Lou Rutino Award. Bill Tribo from Greeley got it a couple of weeks ago. Both coaches will be honored Monday night when the Giants play Dallas on Monday Night Football. There'll be an announcement at Giant Stadium. A well-deserved honor, $500, will be donated to the Harrison football program. Back upstairs.
All right, Joe, good piece of information. Harrison leads at 14-0.
I honestly think that there hasn't been enough said about what a great job Artie's done over the 14 years he's been at Harrison. The guys won 6 league championships, 2 Section 1 championships. As we had mentioned, they were in the state championship last year. I mean, this guy has really done a great job. It's really a testament, for a guy to come back to his school and do that and be as successful as he's been.
Koza picks it up at the 9, and he'll get himself up to about the 20, where the Garnets will start 1st and 10 in a hole.
Yeah, the first thing that Dino Gar's got to do with this kick return team is he's got to put Will Nixon back there. He's got to put 2 deep guys back and tell them those are the only 2 guys to touch the ball unless the ball lands in front of you. Because, Mike Koza going back and fielding these balls. It's happened now twice. They've started on the 5-yard line and now on the 20. You want the ball in the hands of Nixon. So he's got to just make that little minor adjustment. We talked about giving breaks. You give any kind of break to this Harrison team and they could bury you in a hurry.
From the 20, Saraceno has a man, but not for long. Todd Eiler made the catch, but he was defended and defended well by Chris DeFeo. Here's our second Harrison scoring drive. This one took 8 plays. Maldonado got it in from the 5. Highlighting that drive, the 19 and 17-yard runs by Maldonado where he just refused to go down.
Right, and low-lighting the drives, the face mask penalty, which added to a big run by Harrison.
That pass went for 3 yards to Eiler. 2 for 3 passing is Saraceno for net 0 yards. Stevens, he'll have a first down and plenty more.
Good call there by Dino Gar, getting his other back into the game a little bit, but more importantly, spreading Harrison out. He had 2 split ends in that play, forces the corners to play them man-on-man, and it forces the safeties back to get some help coverage, and it takes virtually 4 players out of the defense to defense the run. So you're playing 9 against 7 up front, and it opens up a big hole, and Mike Stevens gets some good positive yardage and a first down.
Final minute here in quarter 1. First down for the Garnets. Saraceno treble sacked. There were 3 Husky jerseys, and 88 Bill Heron got them.
Man, these kids come like a jailbreak. I'll tell you, Bill Heron comes from the defensive end position, and he just was flying up there. I'm sorry, came from the linebacker position. And he came on a blitz, and he was moving, and Saraceno didn't have a chance.
And that's it for the first quarter. We've played 1 at Rye. It's the Huskies 14, the Garnets nothing on the Cablevision High School Football Game of the Week.
Having a little brother is really cool. We do lots of things together, and I have a good time with him. It feels good having someone look up to me. It makes me feel 10 feet tall. I just always want to be there for him.
Do you really want your little brother doing everything you do? Think about it.
Eric Livitz, Peter Arciello, Joe Lombardi, back here with quarter number 2 about to start. The Rye Garnets shut out through the First 12 minutes, they trail by a score of 14-0. In the last 2 years, now last 9 quarters, Pete, they've only scored a total of 7 points. In fact, they've come into this game in the last 8 years averaging just over 5 points a game, so haven't been able to get in the end zone. It's got to be frustration for these guys. It's a good football team. 4 in a row, 4-1, and the chance, should they be able to pull off an upset here today, win the league and have the #1 seed in the B playoffs, a loss, and they'll struggle just to get in those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you something, Harrison's defense is just, theirs are as strong defensively as they are offensively. They've got a big defensive line, active, strong linebackers. Everybody's moving around. Their pass coverage is very good. I'll tell you, they are a very, very balanced football team.
2nd and long, following the sack, ending the quarter. Saraceno bullets it in there, and it's incomplete. Cotter, the intended receiver, Petey might have heard footsteps as Miller got to him.
Yeah, excuse me, Eric. That was John Cotter. It was a very, very good pass. It was just a little bit low, tough to catch. I may have actually misidentified Cotter early in the game. But watch this good pass by Saraceno. Steps up, gets a good bullet in there. Maybe a little bit low, but certainly a catchable pass.
Think you heard footsteps?
I don't know. I mean, it's a tough catch whenever you're going from up to down or down to up. A guy that has to jump or a guy that has to get down to make a catch, it kind of throws you off a little bit, and that's a tough catch to make.
On 3rd down, Nixon is the carrier. Not much going on there as the Huskies got him. Mark Maraglino made the tackle.
But still something that they have to continue to do, which is try to establish the running game and try to bang it in there and get some off-tackle plays going, because you're not going to be able to set up the pass, which I think is going to have to end up being their bread and butter today to get into this game, but you can't set it up if you're not going to be able to run the ball at all, or at least throw the ball into the line.
It's a 4th down. And it appears to be motion against the Garnets.
Illegal
52
substitution.
didn't have his mouthpiece in. It's 5 yards, still 4th down.
All right, so that goes against the Huskies. It'll cost them 5 yards. Pete, that's 52. Ivan De La Rosa.
Yeah, and what happened was Artie Troilo made a late substitution, took Maldonado out of the game, threw Ivan De La Rosa in, and he forgot the one key ingredient to being a football player in high school, and that is the mouthpiece.
Still 4th and long, 4th and 12, and this will be the 3rd punt for Mark Saraceno. It's a decent punt, takes a good bounce. Here comes DeFeo. Flags are down, and he is run into at the 40-yard line by number 64 for Rye, Mark Armas.
Yeah, and they're going to call Matt Miller on a little block in the back and bring it back. And I'll tell you, it's a very, very big break for Rye, because from the point of that foul, which was inside the 30, Harrison's going to start inside their 20. And that's exactly what you want to do with this team. Now there's Matt Miller right there, number 20. He's playing against number 85, Todd Eiler. And he gets a little, as Bill Rafter would say, a little ticky-tack foul. But nonetheless.
Well, you can't push the guy into the back, and that's what he did. So.
Yeah, you can do nothing in terms of playing a player.
Penalize half the distance, and then we'll have 1st and 10.
Could do nothing to touch a player in the back on a kicking play.
The class of '89. Pete, the class of almost every year is back here for this game for both sides. Ryan Harrison, you can see there's our production truck. You see the fans lining the field. They pack them in here. It's a huge event, maybe the biggest event in these towns all season long.
Yeah, the crowd has been spectacular. People are still streaming in here. As we were pulling up prior to the game at about 10:30, 11 this morning, there were people tailgating outside. I mean, this is true high school football. This is what it's supposed to be like every week.
Huskies 4 penalties, 39 yards. They'll start in their worst field position of the day. Not for long as Maldonado gets up to the 20. 6 yards. Cotter hit him. You know, sometimes even when you tackle Maldonado tough, you end up getting up slower than he does.
Well, you know what? It's amazing. It's been a long time, and a lot of people don't realize it, but it's amazing how much he is just like his head coach was when he played. When Art Troilo played, there was no bad field position. I mean, the guy had great speed, great power, great vision, which all the good backs have. And, you know, this kid's got the same exact thing. He can get you 5, 6, 7 yards at will. And, you know, it's an incredible offensive weapon.
From the 20, Maldonado got 5, 8 carries, 56 yards for Sammy. We played 2 minutes in the second quarter. He'll get the carry again. The head goes down. He fumbles. He fumbles. Rye has it. The Garnets recover the fumble. That's number 85, Todd Eiler, on top of it. And Maldonado was crunched.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. That's an extra effort fumble. He was going for a little bit more yardage, trying to stretch his body out a little bit. You'll see this play as it develops. It's just a little off-tackle play. He gets a block up front by his front man, and watch him just trying to get that extra yardage and stretching out, and he gets popped right in there by number 25, it looked like, from Rye, who was Yoshi Tada, and he popped him right in the ball, and the ball came loose. And now Harrison's got to do some work defensively.
Game's first turnover from the 36 of Harrison for the Garnets. Stevens. And, you know, Matt Miller, out of his safety spot, is not a big guy, but he held Mike Stevens down that time until his teammates came over to finish him up. Tenacious defender, Miller.
Yeah, this is a kid who I believe stepped in last year after an injury in the secondary and did a very, very good job. And I'll tell you something, he is a very good corner.
Look at the stats through 1 quarter of play here at a nice, sunny Rye High School. There you see not much. Total yards, 82 for the Huskies. The 1 completed pass for Harrison, the touchdown, and the good field position. Nothing doing for Saraceno. Hit behind the line of scrimmage, and you can see 5 or 6 Harrison jerseys. Justin Williams credited for the tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin Williams was the key there. He comes up from the cornerback position, and what he does is he just strings it out, strings it out, strings it out, gives Saraceno no place to go because the play is designed to get to the outside. He just gives him no room there, and he comes up and he actually makes the tackle. Making the play is one thing. A lot of guys don't get credit defensively for making a play, which is setting up somebody else to make a tackle. Right there, that kid made the play and made the tackle. That's a real good defensive play.
Pete Rye will call timeout, their second charge timeout of the first half, trailing by score 14-0 in a third down situation. And we'll remind you that next week we will be in Hastings for the high school football game of the week. It'll be Bronxville and Hastings, and as usual, you can see it Saturday night, 8 o'clock on your local cable vision station. Bronxville 3-2, having a decent year. Seems like Valhalla is the best team in D, and Tucko might have something to say about that, though.
Yeah, Tucko's really rebounded from a couple really down years in that program, and they've come back, but I certainly think Valhalla is the team.
Joe Lombardi's on the sideline. Joe?
And you guys talking a lot about Art Troilo as a tailback at Harrison, and Harrison really is where the tailbacks are. Think about it. 4 years ago, Dave Beitler set a Section 1 record with 2,121 yards rushing. A couple years after that, Ralph Saldiveri tearing it up. The Pelham transfer now starring for Iona, and of course now, Sam Maldonado. Those guys remind me a lot of Pete Arciello when he played in high school. Did he play tailback? Back upstairs.
Yeah, about the only correlation between me and Sam Maldonado or Art Troilo is that I wore a helmet too. That's about it. Maybe even cleats, but theirs got to be a lot better than mine because I never went as fast as these guys go. Yeah, I mean, Harrison has really provided some great tailbacks. They've had some excellent football teams at Harrison. And, look at Rye. I mean, Rye had the same thing. The tradition here is just as good as you see the Garnet flag over this very, very big crowd. They had a guy in 1981-82 by the name of John Greer who was about as good as they come. So these two schools are not foreign to great running backs.
Third down. Saraceno has Nixon. He's tripped up from behind by Maldonado. Short of the first down. He had a lot of running room, and Sammy caught him.
Wow, I tell you, this kid can play, man. He gets up and he says the no dice signal on this play, but he chases Will Nixon down. Watch this play. He's right there. He's out of position, but he reads it well. He comes up. He actually overruns it, and he still makes a good tackle.
He did. He saved the first down. That means it's fourth down. Rye will definitely go for it. They're from the 30. They need to get right to the 25-yard line. There's 8:06 to go in the second quarter. Harrison leads 14-0. Only one back. And they'll give it to him. Stevens has a first down. And he's hit at about the 6-yard line. Miller and DeFeo got him. Great call by Dino Gar.
And give some credit to that offensive line. James Hannigan, Mark Armis, Dan Zwerger, Andrew Tropiano. Those guys got some good blocks up front. You get a good look at the back of Tropiano there. Got some good blocks up front. Opened up a little hole. And I'll tell you, Stevens has really been the sleeper so far. We talked about Will Nixon. Look at that hole. That thing is huge. I could have ran through there. And Stevens gets up in there, shows some good speed, protects the ball, and he's just looking for the goal line. That was a huge, huge play for Rye.
Yeah, great job by the line that time. First down and goal. Nixon toward the end zone, and he's down to about the 3-yard line.
Now this is where Rye has got to be very smart. They've got to try to, they have to bang it into the end zone to get into this game, which, I mean, from inside the 5, it's not a tall order to do, but you've got it. The offensive line has got to come up strong, get some good blocks, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a little play action, let Saraceno roll out to the right and look for his big tight end Bisegli in the corner of the end zone.
Goes off the screen to the left. Nixon carries, and he's tripped up short of the goal line.
Wow, that was a heck of a play by number 52 who just came in for Harrison. Ivan De La Rosa comes in on the goal line situations for the Harrison defense. He was blocked out of the play, and he just got himself up, got his head up in the air, and just knocked the feet out of Will Nixon.
So now it's third down. They'll mark it at the 3-yard line. And Rye, I believe, are they calling their final timeout? Yes. So with 6:28 to go in the first half, Rye has called their final timeout of the half, knowing so desperately that they need to get into the end zone. Don't forget, next up on our game of the week that you can see Sunday mornings, it'll be field hockey. It'll be the Rye-Neck Panthers and the North Salem Tigers, two of the finest programs in Section 1, and you can see it on your local Cablevision station Sunday at 9 p.m.
Yeah, you're looking at me like you want me to comment on that. I don't even know if field hockey's a boy sport or a girl sport.
Well, it's girls,
right
but you know, Rye-Neck, speaking of Rye-Neck, their soccer program, longtime coach Doug Charon just won his 200th career game this past week. So we'll mention
Congratulations, Doug. Very good. Nice job. Those athletes put in as much time as the guys who get the glory here and the TV time, the female athletes, and it's good to give them their respect. Actually, before the game, Eric, you and I were talking, and someone mentioned the name Mary Henwood, who's a coach here at Rye. Mary I actually graduated high school with her. She was a star basketball player. Smooth. She was like George Gervin, Mary. She used to bury it from anywhere. Mary was an excellent player, and I hear she's having a very, very fine career as a coach here at Rye.
Yep, coaches a few sports. Rye-Neck, of course, doesn't have a football team this year. When you're dealing with schools with not a lot of numbers, sometimes you don't have one. They do not have one this year. All right, here we go. Third and goal. Saraceno from the 3-yard line. Nixon to the right. Runs into Justin Williams.
It's too bad. I hate to, me, Eric, I don't like to kind of pick on a kid, but Mike Kaza right there, he got the initial hit on his man who was Justin Williams, and then he just let him go, and Justin Williams made the tackle on Will Nixon. And I tell you, in a big game like this, you got to step up. You got to make every block, every play count. And you see Mike Cousins coming out of the game now. I tell you, that was just a blown assignment right there. And Dino Gar even said something like, hold your block. Obviously, we can't hear it up here, but his motions meant that.
No gain. Fourth and goal from the 3. Stevens in motion. Saraceno all day to throw wide open. Touchdown! Touchdown, John Cotter.
Excellent play. Excellent play by Rye. I'm looking, I tell you, Dino Gar just faked me out. He would have beat me. If we coached against one another, he'd spank me like a redheaded stepchild. But I'll tell you something right now. I'm looking for Biseglia to just do a little out in the corner of the end zone, and Saraceno rolled out right. Saraceno rolls out right, but he throws it back across the field to Cotter. Excellent call. That was just a super, super call in that situation.
5th touchdown pass of the year for Mark Saraceno. And now we'll have a problem on the line.
Looks like the left man on the end of the line for Rye may have jumped after Harrison jumped.
Well, that would be Todd Eiler for the Garnets.
Actually, I don't think it was Eiler. It was number 22. But I think Harrison may have infringed upon the neutral zone. It looks like Dino Gar may go for it now. He's going to huddle it up. He may go for the 2 here.
Well, they usually place it, Pete, at the 2.5.
Oh, watch this, Eric. This could be a huge play. The captain in the huddle, Dino Gar's on the field arguing. You see him at the bottom there. But the captain in the huddle declined the penalty, so it's going to keep it at the 3-yard line. Rye wanted to accept that penalty, put it at the 1.5 yard line, and then go for the 2.
Okay. Saraceno for the extra point. He's 15 for 18 on extra points this year. Also has the longest field goal in the section. And he booted that one. You know, you don't need to kick it that deep on the extra point, but he'll take it. It's 14-7. And before we look at the replay again, let's head down to Joe Lombardi.
Eric, you guys might have noticed after John Cotter hauled in that touchdown pass, he looked over in the left corner of the end zone. He wanted to know if Rohanna Mertens from the Journal News got a good shot of his touchdown. There you see Rohanna, photographer for the Journal News. We'll find out, I guess, on Sunday. Back upstairs.
You know what? If that kid is looking for somebody taking his picture in the corner of the end zone, you got to yank him out of the game. I understand what Joe's saying, but you got to yank him out of the game. Now, here we go. Good look at the touchdown. It's a little rollout right. Cotter comes across the inside of the formation, not even past the line of scrimmage. Never picked up by Ivan De La Rosa. He's wide open, and the kid makes a good over-the-shoulder catch. That's a nice play. I got to give a lot of credit to Rye. That is an excellent, excellent call.
Well, they're back in the game. It's 14-7 Huskies.
And just to keep in mind, for just a log for us for future reference, that play right there, they run that same formation and that same motion on a little reverse, an inside reverse where the wingback comes back. They run the motion going one way and they flip it back to him. They run it on a reverse and they also throw it out of that on a reverse. It's something to keep in mind later on in the game.
5:37 left in the second quarter. Huskies started out quick. Scored an early touchdown in their first possession and led 14-0 after one quarter. Maldonado's first touchdown of the day, the 5-yard run, and then Rye has just cut the lead in half. John Carter's touchdown reception. Short kick, keeping it away from the deep man. And one of the upbacks took it. That was Derek Colangelo, 33. They wanted no part of Sam Maldonado catching the ball at his own 10 with a wide open field. So the Huskies have it. Decent field position. Up over their 35, call it the 37. And that's the thing, Pete. If you're going to do that, you're going to give up field position.
Yeah, you're going to give up. It's kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other, because you could try to kick it deep and run the risk of putting it in the hands of Sam Maldonado. But on the other side, the other thing you could do is you could kick it short and give the other team field position on about the 40.
From the 37. Straight to Maldonado, and he's eaten up at the line of scrimmage. And it looked like number 55, Scott Hamill. And it was. And here's our first scoring drive for the Garnets today. John Cotter's 3-yard touchdown reception from Mark Saraceno. It took 8 plays, 35 yards in all. And then that is points off a turnover.
It's exactly what it is. And in a big game like this, you don't want to do it. Now, Rye's giving one up, and Harrison's giving one up. And the both of them combined, they even out, but the difference is the second Harrison touchdown.
That last rush was the 10th for Maldonado, first time for negative yardage. 4:45 in the half. Sammy cutting. First down. Down the sideline. Did he step out of bounds? I don't think so. There is not a flag. It's a touchdown. Wow. 63 yards. Petey should have been tackled about 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm smarter than I am, but I'm going to tell you something. I was just about to say they've got to start utilizing Sammy to the outside with the pitch and the toss, and that is as good as a pitch and a toss right there. It's a deep, wide handoff, and he gets outside. But I'll tell you something. If we get a good look at it on the replay, Sam Maldonado did it all on his own. That's why he is the best back in the section, maybe in the state. He stiff-armed 3 different guys and knocked them off the path and took it right down the sideline. That wasn't a breakaway run. That was a broken tackle run. He, as you said, Eric, there were 4 or 5 guys who had the opportunity to take him down, but this kid is so good and so strong. It takes more than one, and if he's going to get one-on-one, he's going to run by these guys every time.
Arcara to make it 21-7. He is now 24 for 26 on the year, and it is 21-7. And boy, talk about a crowd quieter.
Yeah, that's a backbreaker right there. You get back in the ball game with the touchdown, you get it to 14-7, and then you let Sammy Maldonado do his stuff. And we're going to get a good look at it here. It's going to come right at us. Watch as he gets down the field, Eric. He stiff arms no less than 3 guys. He kicks it to the outside, makes a nice cut inside off of the block by it looked like Justin Williams. But this is where he does his damage out here. He gets to the sideline, and there's 1 stiff arm to Todd Eiler. And there's 2 stiff arms. Oh, I guess it was only 2. I was wrong. He might have gotten 1 here around a 10. No one caught up with him. But he gave stiff arms to Todd Eiler and John Cotter that they just had no chance at all to try to tackle him. I tell you, the play with Sammy Maldonado is you got to knock him off his feet. You're not going to do it in his upper body. He's too strong and too big. You're not going to arm tackle him. You've got to get him waist, belt buckle or below, try to knock his feet out, especially when he's going down the sidelines.
He's now up to over 130 yards rushing with those 2 touchdowns. Last year against Rye, in the first half, had 4 touchdowns.
And that's the beauty of this kid, because you look at it and you think Rye has stopped him this game. You think they've shut him down. He's got over 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And the Huskies have that 14-point lead again. And this kick, a little bit short. Cotter takes it back, pedaling again. Behind Nixon is flat.
Matt Miller came in and laid a good hit.
Matt Dunning made the tackle for Harrison, doing a fine job on special teams, number 77. Here's our 3rd Harrison scoring drive of the half. Maldonado, 63-yard touchdown run, 2 plays. That's all it took.
That's all it did.
That's a sign of a great team, following an emotional touchdown from the other team, especially in a game like this, especially on the road. Comes right back, 2 plays, touchdown.
Well, when you've got a kid like Maldonado that's so explosive, you know, you knock him for a negative yardage play, he's going to come back with a little bit of vengeance. Unfortunately, it was a 63-yard touchdown worth of vengeance for the Rye side.
Stevens has a gain of 1. Maraglino makes another tackle. Mark Maraglino, 2-way player, and haven't seen much from him so far in offense, one of the finer players in the section.
He does it on the defensive side. A big kid at 240, kind of blocks up the middle there, and he is a tough kid. I remember him from last year, a very good fullback. This is a kid that has the opportunity to play on Saturday sometime next year, and I'll tell you something, he is as good defensively as he is offensively.
Gain of 2. We're at the 4-minute warning. It's 21-7 Huskies. And Rye would love nothing more than to punch one in here before the half. It's been a great year for Rye. 4-1. They defeated Sleepy Hollow 28-19 in a game that nobody thought Rye was going to win.
Yeah, they did a very good job against Sleepy Hollow. Shut down Dimmy, held him in check, I should say. It's very hard to shut a kid like Trevor Dimmy down. But, you know, the lone blemish on the Rye side was the first game of the year, the early season loss to Peekskill, 40-14. They allowed 383 yards and 6 TDs to the running backs. And, you know, it's just one of those things where they came out of the block slow. Next thing you know, you can't rebound. You lose the first game, and everything's an uphill battle after that. With the new playoff schedule, hey, you play just 5 or 6 games before you go into the playoff. You can't afford to kind of blow one away early on in the season. Unfortunately, Rye did that. They've battled back well, and they're at 4-1 coming into today's game.
All right, Joseph Lombardi on the sideline.
And getting back to this great storied rivalry between the two teams, as you guys mentioned, 68 meetings, but not consecutive. The reason for that, and talking to some historians, after the 1933 game, the series was suspended for a few years. That game ended with a post-game riot among the fans. Hatfields versus McCoy, maybe that's Rye versus Harrison. Back upstairs.
Yeah, these days there's just as many people, but no actual riots. Thank goodness. Saraceno dropped. Wow, he had a first down there, and he had the ball pretty much in his receiver's hands. The intended receiver was Charlie Prade, 81.
That's one that you got to make the catch on, and unfortunately Charlie didn't, and it puts Rye in a situation that they've now got 3rd and long. And there's a good play, and Saraceno almost goes down. Knee never touches the ground, keeps his hands up. The kid throws a nice ball, nice, strong, tight spiral. And you got to make that catch, especially on third down when you're down 2 TDs. You have to make that catch. Unfortunately, Charlie Prey didn't, and now puts Harrison in a situation where they can play back a little bit, almost like a nickel defense type situation.
And that pass incomplete. Tough to tell if it was intended for Eiler or Biseglia, who was sort of thrown in between. And with 3:25 to go in the fourth quarter, the Garnets probably will be punting.
Yeah, I mean, the intent on that play is to get rid of it before you get whacked. Number 45 on the Harrison side, Mark Maraglino, came in, and he had a beat on Saraceno, and he did well to get rid of the ball before he got popped.
This will be their fourth punt. It's 4th down and 8, deep in their own territory, 3:25 to go. DeFeo is back. Bad snap. Good punt. And it takes a Garnet bounce, and it'll go all the way down to inside the 30 into the 27. So the Garnets escaped with a bit of luck and a good punt and good coverage. And the Huskies will have 3:10 to really try to put this one away in the first half.
Exactly, and that is very good use of words there, Eric. They can put it away with a touchdown, but on the other side, Rye can go into the locker room with a good feeling about themselves and about what they've done in the first half if they shut Harrison down here. Going down 2 touchdowns to Sammy Maldonado is not a bad thing. I mean, this is a very, very strong Harrison team. Rye made 2 mistakes. 2 mistakes cost them touchdowns. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's a 7-7 game with the exception of 2 or 3 plays. So it's a very, very important for both teams, momentum-wise, psyche-wise, to either score a touchdown for Harrison or either not give one up on Rye's side.
Maldonado from the 27 gets 4. 7 rushes, 51 yards in the first quarter for Maldonado. And 76 yards rushing in the second quarter. Under 3 to go. The Huskies looking to go 6-0. And after this, it would be playoffs. 8 teams would make the playoffs, so there's 2 leagues in B, so 1 would play 4, 2 would play 3 in each league, which would mean a relatively easy game next week for Harrison should they win this one. Then they'd probably be looking at Somers, and then possibly Hendrick Hudson, a team they've already beaten. Somehow he breaks away from a big loss, and he'll get close to a first down, and there is just a wonderful effort from Maldonado. Should have been a loss of 4. Instead, it's a gain of 4.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's amazing. That guy, he gives as much punishment as he takes when he's got the ball in his hands. You watch this, Eric. He almost gets caught in the backfield. We'll move it along a little bit here. Almost gets hit in the backfield, spins out of that one. Watch the hit he lays on a defensive player here. Well, you just kind of saw him bounce back a little bit, but 52 on the Rye side, who's John Canetto, was holding on for dear life at the end there.
And a good mark. Didn't think he had the first down, but they'll give it to him. And Pete, that is just the second first down of the second quarter. They've only have 4 in the whole game because, like you just mentioned, it's been a few big plays.
Yeah, it's been a few big plays, and that's their offense. They're not a grinded-out offense. They put it in Maldonado's hands. Maraglino gets it a little bit. They put it in the air to DeFeo a little bit. Servideo does a nice job running the offense, but they're a big play offense. The thing is, they are used to being a big play offense, and that's the type of thing that, you know, if they ever run into a defense that can shut them down a little bit, could be the problem.
Breaks 2 tackles here, and hit from behind after another first down. He stays in bounds. Now they say he's out of bounds, and it'll be 15 more, and another first down for Maldonado. Maldonado had maybe his best game this season against Sleepy Hollow, Peter, which we'll get to in a minute. Here is his latest great
Just
run.
a little pitch out, and he puts on a good move in there. Gets it to the outside. He's got the ball on the outside. There's another good move. Mike Kaza, whose family may think I'm picking on him, but I'm not. But he got juked out of his pants right there, and then Sammy gets 11 yards.
Many people do get juked out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't envy being a cornerback playing against this kid at all.
In Rye territory with 1:40 to go from the 46-yard line. Servideo will throw. He goes for DeFeo. He has DeFeo. Touchdown. No flags. The second time Servideo and DeFeo have hooked up.
Yeah, that's the knockout punch. This team can put you away at any time, anywhere. We talked about how important it would be for Rye not to let Harrison go 70 yards for a touchdown. And what they do is they've got so many weapons. You see 3 runs to Maldonado. He gets 2 first downs, and then they throw the ball right down the middle of the field to DeFeo. And that kid's got some speed. He's got good hands, and you've got to give Servideo credit. He put it right on the numbers.
27-7. Wow. Two for 3, 73 yards for Servideo passing, 2 touchdowns, both to Chris DeFeo. They're 5'9" junior. The extra point makes it 28-7, and they are just a juggernaut. And if they don't win the state championship this year, you wonder who's gonna.
Well, you know, the interesting thing for us is we don't know what's out there. You know, you're talking about 200 teams trying to get to the state finals, but I'll tell you something, they're going to have to run up against this team at some point. Servideo gets a nice drop, but good pass, gets a lot of air under it, right on the numbers, good catch, and watch him just run away from Todd Eiler there. It is an incredible, incredible 1-2 punch. We talked about Harrison's 1-2 punch last year with Maraglino as the fullback, the big, strong, tough fullback, 240 plus, pounding the ball inside, Maldonado getting it to the outside. Now you throw in the added dimension of having the ability to throw the ball deep or throw the ball at any portion of the field down to DeFeo, and I'll tell you something, it is going to be very, very difficult to stop. And we haven't even scratched the surface of the potential. You know, they've got a big tight end too, Billy Heron at 6'3", 220. I mean, so they can throw it to him too. I mean, this is a team, you talk about a balanced offense, you don't get any more balance in this team.
How about this? Their fullback, Mark Maraglino, has not carried the ball yet.
Well, actually, I think he did have 1 carry early in the second quarter. He got 2 or 3 yards. But I'll tell you something, this team can do it either in the air or on the ground. And how do you defend a team like that?
You don't. No one's been able to. Maldonado's kick. Koza. And Veet tackles him at the 25-yard line where the Garnets will start 1:19 on the clock.
It may be a moot point, but I'll tell you something. Dino Gar has got to tell his up-backs that they have to allow the deep backs to come up and make the catch. If you're not going forward, you cannot return a kick by going backwards and then trying to go forwards. It just can't happen. It never happens. It shouldn't be done. Mark Kaza has got to understand that him going 5 steps back is not as important as letting, you know, Will Nixon, the deep back, to come up 5 steps, get a good head of steam, catch the ball, and go. It's, you know, like I said, it could be a moot point down 3 touchdowns. You know, they only want to, hopefully they're not going to get to return another one, but in Rye's mind. But, you know, it's just the little things that you do that could put you in situations, put you in a hole. And if you give this team, this Harrison team, any slight crack in that door, they're going to bust it open.
And now Harrison all confused defensively. And they will call a timeout. That's their first timeout of the first half. Here's our latest Harrison scoring drive. Their 4th of the first half. Chris DeFeo, 46-yard touchdown reception from Paul Servideo. Took 4 plays, 73 yards that drive. And again, the big play. The 2 big passes, the long Maldonado run. 3 of their 4 touchdowns have come via the big play.
Yeah, and this kid DeFeo, he can play. He can catch the ball. He's got great speed. I mentioned last week that he returned a punt, 64 yards for a touchdown, and a 54-yard TD reception last week. This kid can play. He is very, very good on the offensive side, and just gives them another weapon.
All right, we got Joe Lombardi with a special guest. Joe?
All right, guys, I'm here with Tony Baxter. Back in the day, a great player at St. Mary's in Greenwich from the Mount Kisco, Bedford area. He's helping out now at Mamaroneck. Great staff there with Harry Peterson. You're very impressed with Sam Maldonado.
I just think he's looked tremendous in the first half. I mean, not only offensively, I mean, he breaks tackles. He's a very strong runner. But defensively, there was a play where they had a sweep coming this side, and he was playing defensive end on the other side, and he ran the kid down.
Yeah.
I mean, just phenomenal.
So how would you compare him with players you've seen in the area? Maybe the best ever in Westchester that you know of?
I really haven't seen enough, you know, of the running backs in the area, but certainly this year, just going to games on weekends, he's the best I've seen.
Mamaroneck in Class A, so you don't have to worry about Harrison, right?
No, absolutely not. Thank goodness.
All right, thanks. And you teach here too, Tony. And thanks for your thoughts. And let's go back to Eric and Pete.
Okay, Joe. And Pete, I have a feeling in the second half, should the score stay this way, Joe, we'll get a chance to speak to a bunch of people. So a bit of a delay following the timeout. Rye will have it. 1:17 to go. Tricky situation here. You're down 3 touchdowns, so almost nothing to lose here, Pete, but you don't want to give them even another score.
Yeah, you don't want to give them a defensive score.
Nixon has been contained pretty well, and he doesn't get much there. In fact, Nixon has 14 yards on 8 carries. And if you're Harrison, you got to be pretty happy with the job you've done. And don't forget, this guy coming in, 99 rushes, 678 yards, 9 touchdowns, almost 200 against Sleepy.
You know, I think that's a bit of the problem. You know, so many people know about Sam Maldonado and what he's done offensively. They don't give this Harrison defense enough respect. And I'll tell you something, this is a defense, almost all of them come back from last year, and they are big, they are strong, they play good defense, they can defense the pass, they can defense the rush. They are a very, very good football team. Not very deep, but very good.
Cotter on the reception. That's his second reception of the day. The first one, of course, the touchdown. And it went for a first down. So to the 40-yard line of Rye with 47 seconds in the half. And we'll see if they have a big play in them. Saraceno goes for it all, way overthrown, intended for Nixon. And Petey had Cotter in the middle of the field, number 7.
Yeah, he did, but I tell you, it's, you know, we talk about this Harrison defense, and it's very difficult to throw the ball down the field when you've got these guys bearing down on you. Now, Rye's done a relatively good job, you know, keeping the Harrison defenders out of Saraceno's face, but I'll tell you something, when you know that these guys are coming, you tend to lock onto a receiver, and that's what I think Saraceno's done a lot this first half, is lock onto one guy, and he knows in his mind that that's the guy he's going to get the ball to, and he's throwing the ball to positions as opposed to throwing the ball to players. And it's happened 2 or 3 times in the first half, and I tell you, I don't envy the kid. I mean, it's a tough situation. He's made some good throws, but he's not in an easy situation.
Saraceno in trouble, and he falls. He falls down, and he was being chased by Keith Bisignano, 6'1" senior. And that's his first year starting with the varsity for the Huskies.
And he's a big, emotional kid. I mean, it seems like every play, you know, somebody's walking over to him and telling him to calm down. But, I mean, that's a big kid. I mean, look how big that kid is, and he's coming at you full speed. And at times, it's almost like a bit of a jailbreak in there. You know, that kid goes 6'1", 240.
Stevens tripped up on what should be the final play of the first half, and it in fact is. Wow, 28-7, Pete, and Art Troil has got to be one happy camper right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, why shouldn't he be? I mean, they've got a great team. They've done a very, very, very good job offensively. More importantly, they've really shown their mettle in the sense that they have taken advantage of a few little breaks. They've made some of their own breaks, and they've relied on Sam Maldonado. And so far, I mean, it's equal to 28-7 lead at the half.
All right, we're seeing if Joe could get in there and get a quick word with Art Troil Jr. You know how emotional this game is, and the coaches run right away sometimes, so we're not sure if we're going to be able to get him. It doesn't look like it, so why don't we take a break? It's 28-7, Harrison at the half. We'll come back with our halftime activities right after this.
Cablevision Millennium Minute. Spotlight on Pound Ridge. A tiny hamlet that time passed by, Pound Ridge derives its name from a woodland stockade, a pound, built by the Indians to capture deer for food and clothing. 3 centuries ago, settlers cleared the virgin forest there, and farms spread along rough cartways, once Indian footpaths from the Sound. The Revolution swept through Pound Ridge when British cavalry staged a dramatic raid. Houses and farm buildings multiplied as sawmills and grist mills sprang up along the many streams. Cottage industries flourished. Colliers tended charcoal pits. Cordwainers made sturdy shoes, and skilled basket makers brought fame to the place that some called Basket Town. Throughout the years, no railroad came to populate the countryside. The automobile brought no great swell of residents, and as Pound Ridge moves into the new millennium, it remains a living portrait of a tranquil colonial America where time answered, let it be. Cablevision, raise your expectations.
A good look at Rye's first touchdown and only touchdown of the game. Saraceno, little rollout left, stops, throws it back. Good catch by John Cotter over the shoulder. At that point, Rye was back in the game at 14-7, but it turns very quickly in this rivalry, especially with the high-powered Harrison offense. And Harrison came right back with a big Sammy Maldonado touchdown, and then followed that up with a big play down the field, a long pass to Chris DeFeo, their junior split end at 5'9", 160.
And let's look at the statistics through 2 quarters of play. There they are. Harrison, 160 yards rushing. Pete, not bad. Maldonado had 156 of them.
Yeah, pretty balanced.
Yeah, 2 for 3 passing. Very efficient offense. Paul Servideo, 2 for 3 passing, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. Total yards on the side of Harrison. They did have the only turnover. Let's look at the scoring summary. There were 5 touchdowns in the first half. Chris DeFeo from Paul Servideo, 27 yards, 7-0. Maldonado, 5-yard touchdown, 14-0 after 1. We just saw the Rye touchdown that cut it to 14-7. Then Maldonado, 63 yards, made it 21-7. And then this touchdown, Paul Servideo to Chris DeFeo, 46 yards, Pete. And this one made it 28-7. What happened here?
Well, this was the backbreaker. Servideo makes a good play.
Oh, we'll get to it. We'll get to it in a moment. But he did make a good play. Made actually a great play, a great pass, and quickly we'll get into Joe Lombardi. So Joe's got our fan of the game, Joe.
And Eric, I couldn't think of a more fitting fan of the game than the gentleman I have with me here, 86-year-old Leonard June. And Leonard, how long have you been coming to this annual showdown between Harrison and Rye?
Since they've started playing.
Since they started playing in the 1928 or so. Amazing that you've come every year, huh?
Every year. I never miss.
And you're a friend of Dino Gar, 86 years old. You live in Rye. What's so special, Leonard, about this game?
It's very special. They all play good football. And they enjoy seeing them play.
And it's a great community event. Any game stand out in your mind? Any particular game?
Well, it's years ago when I forgot his name. Dino probably would know.
Yeah.
He was a tall fellow and he caught a touchdown, won the game for Rye.
And there's no doubt you'll never forget it, and there'll be a lot of moments that a lot of people won't forget in this game. And we know where your loyalties are. They're with Rye, and right now the Garnet's trailing 28-7. But Leonard, we thank you. You're a fan of the game. You're going to get 5 gift certificates for Optimum pay-per-view. We'll get you a nice shirt too. We thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Our fan of the game, and let's go up to Eric.
Hey, Joe, and there's a deserving fan, Leonard. Congratulations. And Pete, my most memorable one might be the 1985 game where Rye won 7-0 in a driving snowstorm.
Yeah, I remember that one. There have been a few that have been adversely affected by weather. There was also, I think it was 92, was a torrential rainstorm here at Rye.
Okay, now let's look at that replay. We have our fan of the game done, and this is the second touchdown Servideo to DeFeo.
Getting great offensive line blocking all the time in the world. Servideo waits till Chris DeFeo can get a step on Todd Eiler. He gets a step, makes a good catch, and heads on out, and he just cannot be caught. Todd Eiler cannot make the catch. Cannot catch him, I should say, and Chris DeFeo makes a beautiful touchdown and really kind of salts it away right there for Harrison. I mean, granted, there is still a half to go, but I would be absolutely shocked if Harrison gives up a 3-touchdown lead.
I think that was the difference in the half. A couple of breakaway plays where Harrison managed to catch the open Garnet in the open field. Maldonado did once. There was, I believe, another occasion as well. And those other times when Rye players could not tackle, that time it was DeFeo, one of the Maldonado touchdowns, that stiff-armed him away.
Yeah, I think that, the breakdowns have been what has absolutely killed Rye, or did kill Rye in the first half. They had some really bad breakdowns. They had the shank punt. They had a penalty, a big penalty on a 25-yard run by Maldonado, which made it a 40-yard run with a face mask penalty. And when you allow Harrison to do things like that, you allow Harrison those breaks, they're going to bury you.
Alcara takes it to the 42 on the kick. There he is. Let's look at the quarterback again for Harrison. Number 11, Paul Servideo, 2 for 3, 2 touchdown passes, both to DeFeo. Very, very efficient.
Yeah, I mean, efficiency is the name of the game with this kid. He keeps the ball in play. He throws good, solid passes, doesn't throw the ball into traffic, and on the in the running game, he does a very nice job keeping it going, keeping the ball in Maldonado's hands.
From the 42 on first down, Maldonado gets back to the line of scrimmage, but he was hit like a brick by big number 63. Right in the backfield for the Rye Garnets. That's Andrew Tropiano.
And Tropiano has played a very good game. He anchors the offensive line at center. He's done a good job in the first half. I think I spotlighted him on one of those plays, one of the big Mike Stevens runs up the middle, and he just made a very, very good play out from the his defensive line position there, stopping a very tough-to-tackle Sam Maldonado in the backfield.
Yeah, you know, 90% of the plays, Rye is sticking and playing right with Harrison. The couple big breakaways, the difference. Of course, you can say that about some games. Look at this! There's a sack in the backfield and maybe a fumble. No, the ball was down, and I believe that was 88 for the Garnets. Peter Biseglia, the 6'2 senior, and Rye really has made some adjustments here at the half.
Yeah, they've come out with some fire and brimstone here in the second half. That play may have been a broken play, though. It looked like Servideo never really got out on the play here, and it's kind of tough to look at it from. Well, we catch it very late, catch the replay very late there, but Servideo, it looked like it was a broken play, like the back did not get a good enough relationship with him to get the ball, and then he tried to take it on his own, and he was bumped by Biseglia.
3rd and plenty. Servideo to throw. It's complete. It's completed. It may go for a touchdown. And a late flag will probably bring it back somewhat. What a play as the 2 Rye defenders fell down. Pete, and there's no number 2 on our roster.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is. But both of the defenders fell down, and it gave, on the Harrison side, number 2, and we don't have who that player is, but he made a good catch and a good play to get down the field. And they called a clip on Matt Miller. I think that's the second time.
Okay.
Second time they've done that on Matt, but this one, touchdown's going to get called back, although they're still going to have great field position. It'll be 15 yards from the side of the foul, so it'll be first down for Harrison on the 30-yard line. Good rush here by Rye. They get in Servidio's face, gets the ball off just in time.
It's Mike Zampella, Pete, number 2.
Mike Zampella, and I'm sorry, both of the defenders fall down there, and Zampella takes it, stumbles a little bit, starts taking down the field, and I don't know if we're going to get a good look at what they called on Matt Miller, but it looked like the defender right there was out of position. What happened was Matt Miller got called on a penalty that wasn't caused by him. It was caused by his receiver. The receiver cut back. When he cut back, it spun around the defender, and Matt Miller was standing there, and he just kind of bumps him in the back, and they called a 15-yarder. But like I said, Harrison's still going to be in great position here with a 1st and 10 on the 30-yard line of Rye.
Yeah, they do get a first down. And they have it from the 30, 1st and 10. And they'll throw again. This time
wide
they'll look
open
for Miller. They have Miller, but overthrown. Cotter back defending, overthrown by Servideo to bring up 2nd down.
Wow, and I'll tell you something. Dino Gar has chosen to come out and put 8 guys in the box, and that means 8 guys within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. And in doing that, it opens up the passing game wide open. On that particular play, Servideo chose to try to get it to Matt Miller on the left side. But down the middle of the field, not only did he have DeFeo, but he also had his tight end Billy Heron, and no one was on Heron. He was wide open in the middle of the field.
So it's 2nd down. 10:01 to go in the 3rd quarter. Huskies driving. They thought they really had the score that put this one away, but it was called back because of the clip. Maldonado right into 2 black jerseys. Excellent defense. Charlie Prade, 6-foot junior. And Sammy will get back to the line of scrimmage.
It was a good play by Prade right there. The Rye defense has not played a poor game. They've had some breakdowns in the secondary. The big pass, which got called back on the Miller clip, should have been a touchdown, and that play basically just the two defenders bumped into one another, knocked each other over, and Zampella was able to make the catch and take it into the end zone. But Rye has to play the pass as well as they play the run, because they've done a decent job against the run. From tackle to tackle, Harrison has not been successful all day.
3rd and 11, Huskies, 9:12 to go in the third. They lead 28-7. Zampella and Miller set up to the right. Maldonado takes it to the left. And it'll be short of the first down. He needed 12. He got about 8. Making the tackle for the Garnets. Once again, number 63, Tropiano.
This will be an interesting call for Art Troilo. You've got a 4th and 5 on the 25-yard line. If he doesn't give it to Maldonado, which is probably the call to make, the percentage call to make, but he's got to be thinking that Dino Gar's going to put as many guys in the box as he can. He looks like he's going to go trips right with Zampella and Miller. I'm sorry. He's going to go 2 receivers to the right with Zampella and Miller. Watch for Heron, the tight end on the left-hand side, dragging across the middle.
Same play. Maldonado left, has the first down. And about 4 or 5 more, and it quiets the crowd on 4th down. Maldonado moves the chains, and Pete, they went with exactly the 3rd down call on 4th down.
Yeah, I tell you, it's very, very difficult to defend a team that gives you a look and goes away from it. You know, you got to believe that Maldonado's going to touch the ball in that situation, but they come out with the 2 receivers right, the slot on the right side, and it leads you to believe that they're either going to run it right or they're going to throw it right, and what they do is they toss it out left.
All right, quickly, Joe Lombardi. Joe.
All right, guys. Right now, Harrison doing a good job lighting up the scoreboard. Some trivia notes here from this history. 1970, Rye kicked a field goal in the waning minutes for a 3-0 victory. The next year, Harrison won 2-0. Far cry from today. Back upstairs.
Very true. There's Sammy. There's Sammy. Touchdown, Maldonado. Maybe his best run yet. Pete, you could drag people a yard or 2 or 5, but 20?
But, you know, because he does it, Eric, the reason why he can do it, I should say, is that he does it with so much energy. The kid is always moving so fast. Legs are always churning real hard. You cannot tackle him high, and Rye has made the mistake today of trying to tackle Sammy Maldonado in the numbers and in the shoulder pads. You're taught to stick your helmet in the numbers, grab around the waist, and try to crack the back. What they're doing is they're grabbing high, and you cannot tackle this kid high. They should have learned their lesson in the first half, but if they don't get around his legs and his knees and his shoulder and his ankles and try to pop the legs out from under him, they're just going to get dragged around all afternoon.
The 3rd touchdown of the day for Sam Maldonado. The 14th of the season, which is all of 5.5 games or so. And it's 35-7. This is just an amazing run.
It's just basically an off-tackle play. Pulls out a guard. He gets a good kick out. There's one missed block right there by Charlie Prade, and then he just drags, absolutely 100% drags Peter Biseglia, who is probably the biggest, active player, I should say, on the Rye team. There are bigger players in weight, but I'm saying a guy who's got speed. He's a tight end. He plays on the offensive side of the ball. He just dragged him clearly 7 yards into the end zone.
It's an amazing run by Maldonado. 18-yard touchdown run. It's 35-7. He's been a 4-year starter here at Harrison. Broke the all-time Section 1 record, eclipsing Peter Coe's mark earlier this season. Coe, of course, the Edgemont runner. And last year, Coe broke the record and took his team to a state championship. Maldonado would love to repeat in those footsteps.
Oh, he sure would. He sure would. He is just, he's just one of those rare special running backs that you don't see often. You don't see, many times in a career. But I'll tell you one thing: that guy can absolutely flat out play. He's a carbon copy of his. He was the same type of player: tough, strong, fast. I think Sammy is a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. But I'll tell you something: Artie Troilo was a guy that one guy did not tackle him in his day.
Look at the great crowd on hand here. Hopefully Joe will be chatting with some of the people in attendance. Here's the first scoring drive of our 3rd quarter. 8 plays, 58 yards. 3rd touchdown for Sam Maldonado. 35-7. 7:42 left. It's coming to Koza. And he takes it. Down the middle goes Koza. and he'll get it out to the 34. Pretty good field position for the Rye Garnets, where they'll start 1st and 10, and it'll give us a chance to relook at junior quarterback Mark Saraceno, who completed 4 passes, but none for more than 3 yards in the first half.
Yeah, he had a tough time in the first half. Probably his best play was the touchdown play to Cotter, but he's a kid who likes to throw the ball. He throws the ball well. The difference today in previous weeks and even last year when Rye was a team that threw the ball much more is the intense pressure that Harrison has put on them defensively.
And there's Taylor Boynton, and you know, he's smiling, but I don't think he's happy. He's obviously injured himself. Maybe Joe could find out what happened. The starting offensive tackle for the Garnets. And Nixon with his best run of the day. 7 yards, tackled by Servideo in the secondary. Nixon was stopped, held to just 14 first half yards, and there a little flash of what Will Nixon can do.
Well, this kid, you know, he's a quality back. We talked about that in the pregame, Eric. This kid had over 600 yards coming into the game. This kid can play. He's strong. He's quick. The thing is, he's not very big, and when you're playing against a team like Harrison, that type of size can really keep you down.
2nd down, under 7 to go in the 3rd quarter. Garnet's down a bunch. Right at the 1st down marker is Todd Eiler. He needed 3. It's about what he got. We'll see where they place it. Todd Eiler's a 5'10 junior, one of the 2 starting ends for the Garnets.
The interesting thing about Saraceno and Eiler and all his receivers today has been the fact that there are not many seniors on this team. I mean, if you look at the backfield, they're going to lose Nixon, they're going to lose Biseglia. But besides that, you know, Saraceno, only a junior, is going to be able to throw the ball, you know, next year again to Eiler and some of these other guys. And I'll tell you something, they have a very potent, very, very potent pass game.
All right, it's a 1st down. After this play, we'll head down to Joe Lombardi with, I believe, an injury update. Well, let's head down now. We got a break. Joe?
Okay, guys. Taylor Boynton, you mentioned the injury. He told me he buckled his ankle. He will not be returning today. Hopes to play next week back upstairs.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Hopefully he'll be back for the playoffs. Nixon scurrying ahead for a couple, tackled by Rudy Arcara, number 1. Only a couple that time for Nixon. Very young Rye team. We mentioned only a handful of seniors on it. And it's funny, Pete, it's 35-7 Harrison. Last year, Harrison won 42-7. But last year's game, you get the feel from watching it, was such a mismatch. This year, you don't get that feeling. It looks like a pretty good game. Harrison just taking advantage of the big play.
Yeah, you don't get that feel at all. And I'll tell you one thing. You know, Artie Troilo, obviously, he's got a lot more on his plate for this year to finish out this year and hopefully get to a state championship. He better watch out next year because this Rye team is going to be good. They've got a lot of juniors. They've got a lot of guys at skill positions that come back, and this team can play. I tell you, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with next season.
And Rudy Arcara is just playing a heck of a football game. A tackle in the backfield that time. This kid is a freshman. Peter, he's a freshman starting on varsity. He's their sensational kicker. He's going to be a big part of any sectional, regional, state championship run. And he's doing a fine job defensively as well.
You know, success breeds good players, and Harrison has had 2, as they call it, timeout now, a little confusion defensively.
By the defense. So the Huskies will call a defensive timeout. They also used one in the first half. Next up on our game of the week, it'll be Bronxville and Hastings from Hastings. And that will be a Class D matchup, the Broncos and the Hastings. You can see it Saturday, 8 o'clock, right here on the Cablevision High School Game of the Week. Peter, as we do when we have some time here, we have Joe Lombardi. So Joe is with the Rye Athletic Director. Joseph.
Thank you very much, Eric. And Pat Amendola, Athletic Director at Rye. This is an annual affair. This is a gorgeous day and a great crowd. Obviously, you're not happy about the score, but that happens. You're to be thrilled with this atmosphere as usual.
It's amazing, you know, when you're running an event like this, you don't get to watch the game very often. We knew Harrison was good. Our kids will come back. We got a tough bunch of kids that are well coached, but we're just trying to provide a good, safe athletic event at the high school level.
Tell us a little bit about the nature. What makes this rivalry special compared to other rivalries in Westchester and throughout New York State even?
Well, these communities have been playing football together for, I think, 63 years. But it goes beyond that because they do a lot of things together off the field. They're friendly through their churches, through their clubs they belong to, their summer jobs. So there's a lot of friendly rivalry involved here. And as you can see, on the field, it's terrific. The players just do a wonderful job. The coaches do a wonderful job. And my concern is that the fans also try to do a wonderful job, and sometimes they get a little carried away.
That hasn't been the case today and recently. We talk about in 1933 there was a post-game riot, but you deserve a lot of credit for doing a good job, and we want to commend you on that.
Well, Mike Ansell and I, Mike over at Harrison, we try. We had a little bit of an issue here today that we tried to quell quietly. We're hoping it doesn't rear its ugly head again, but you know, we have some rules. We don't like banners, we don't like dummies, we don't like anything that's negative for the other school, and unfortunately, some of our fans don't agree with that theory. So my philosophy is if they don't like it, don't come. This is a high school event. We want to try to make it as safe and as sportsmanlike as we possibly can.
We'll throw it up to Eric in a second, but I wouldn't be a good reporter if I didn't ask you, would you shed a little light on what type of incident that was? Was it involving fans or?
Well, we just feel that both schools should be proactive to their schools and not get involved with anything negative with the other school. And we had something that was going to come about that I spotted, that I stopped, and I think it was a good thing to do.
Thank you, Pat. We appreciate it. And back to Eric.
Fourth down as Stevens was able to do nothing on second and third, and it's thrown away. And Saraceno Pete hasn't made too many bad throws. That time he did.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to get a little too much on that ball, and he basically threw it right into the ground. But he's played a good game. I mean, you can't take that away from the kid. You know, just on what the Rye athletic director was saying, we've got to give our thanks and a lot of credit to both the Rye coaching staff, the Harrison coaching staff, and both athletic departments. You know, you do not see crowds like this in high school football in Section 1, and we haven't been seeing them often over the past few years. And to monitor and to control a crowd like this is really incredible, and they've done a fabulous job, and you've got to give a lot of credit to the Rye athletic department and also the Harrison athletic department. You're always going to have those little skirmishes when you have these backyard brawls like this, but I'll tell you, they have done a great job, and we've got to really thank them for all their hospitality.
Pete, as we do sometimes during these timeouts and lulls, we look at the other sections, other leagues throughout the county. Let's take a look first off at the AA, the big boys. They play in two separate leagues, and see how these standings shake out. North Rockland has one of their stellar teams. Remember, four teams in AA total make it combined. Now, out of this league, North Rockland, Carmel, Arlington with shots in this one. North Rockland, Joe Casarella has a vintage team.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're not going to be able to keep Joe Casarella down for too long, and he's had some kind of off years. An off year for him is 2 or 3 losses, but he's had some off years the past few years. They are back, and they're back with a vengeance. They're undefeated so far at 5-0. And Carmel had a big win over Mayapack on Friday night. You're gonna definitely, I think, see those two teams come out of there, and we'll get a look in a second on who else we'll find in the AA playoffs.
Maldonado dragging along for 2, and will bring up a third down. Let's take a look now at AA South, where, speaking of South, Clarkstown South's been a surprise. They're perfect at 5-0.
I mean, wouldn't that be incredible that Clarkstown South played North Rockland in the AA final? I mean, you're talking about two communities that are very close to one another, two very, very strong programs. That would be an ideal final, but you can't count Ramapo out. They are a very, very good team. They've got a tough game next week. They've got to go to Roosevelt. Tony DiMattio's last game at the field that they named after him, his last game at Roosevelt High School. You know that those Indians will be sky high for that one.
Roosevelt technically not out of the bowl picture. They certainly need to win the rest of their games. Servideo has a wide open receiver in Bill Heron, but he overthrew him.
You know, the interesting thing, Eric, it's hard for our viewers to see, but if you were to get a full picture of the field, you've got 3 Harrison receivers, 1 in each quadrant, each third of the field, and you only have 2 Rye defenders. That is the byproduct of Dino Gard trying to stop the run and trying to stop Maldonado. He's got between 7, 8, sometimes 9 guys up in the box, and what happens is the passing game is absolutely wide open, and the risk that Rye runs is if they don't get to Servideo, he's going to get the ball down the field, and if he makes any kind of decent pass, it's going to be a touchdown. It's a very, very tough offense to play defense against.
Okay, so now it's third down. Third down and 9. That's the first time that Servideo looked for his tight end, senior Bill Heron. Here we go, third down, 3:43 to go in the third. Huskies leading at 35-7. They led 28-7 at the half. Servideo's hit. Fumble. Rye has the football at midfield. So a big hit and a big recovery. Mike Stevens fell on it, and it's Rye ball.
Yeah, we just talked about it. If you don't get to the quarterback, you're in for some trouble. But right there, Rye did get to the quarterback. They dragged some video down, and the ball came loose. You know, Dino Garr sending everybody. You got linebackers, you got the whole defensive line. Sometimes you even got safeties. But that was an excellent play by Charlie Prade. He gets to Servideo as he's got the ball up ready. He's got it cocked in the throwing position, and Prade knocked it out of his hands, and it was recovered by, I believe, number 22, Mike Stevens.
That's correct. 49-yard line of Harrison for Rye. 3:34 to go. And on first down, Kaza will lose a yard. Veet in on the tackle along with Arakara, and Charlie Veet's playing a sensational game on the line both ways.
Yeah, one of those guys that doesn't get a lot of credit, you know, not a lot of airtime, but I tell you, that kid has played a good game in Arakara in on another tackle as a freshman. This is what we saw from Maldonado 3 years ago.
Joe Lombardi's on the sideline. Joseph?
All right, guys, I'm behind the end zone here, and a happy day for Harrison fans, including Steve Carpinello. Steve, you're wearing the Husky cat, and you have to be very happy today.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're doing so well. Rye was supposed to have a good team, and I thought the game was going to be a lot closer. But they're showing some good talent out there.
You played at Harrison. Tell us about that.
1976 season, played against Rye on our home field. We were down 12-0 going into the fourth quarter, and we came back 15-12, so it was quite a win.
You really do remember these games the rest of your life, the Rye Harrison games.
Every one of them. Every one of them.
And you're going to remember this even though you're not playing. This is a great era for Harrison football, maybe even a state title. Are you going to head up to Syracuse if it happens?
Well, we did last year, so we'll see what happens, yeah.
That's terrific, and great to have you here along with about 5,000 other folks. Let's go back to Eric and Pete.
It's interesting, Eric. Steve Carpinello is the brother of Rick Carpinello, the fine hockey writer from the Journal News, the former Gannett newspapers. And I tell you something, I know Rick very well. I know Steve. I know his brother Frank. I know the whole family. And that is a family that puts their heart behind the Harrison Huskies.
That was a stretch of 8 consecutive Harrison wins in that series. Saraceno's hit. And was that, actually, that could have been an interception. It may not have ever hit the ground.
No, I think it was actually, they considered it, or they called it tipped, although I don't know how that could be. But they called it tipped, and it was caught in the air by Andrew Tropiano, the center.
Okay.
And it goes for a no yardage reception. But here's a good look at it from ground level, and Saraceno gets popped right as he hits it, right as he gets rid of it, and it ends up right in Tropiano's hands, and the big guy gets a little time with the ball.
Okay, it's 4th down and 10 for Rye midfield. 1:57 to go in the third. They'll go for it. Nothing to lose. Down 35-7. They need to get to the 40 to keep the drive going. Saraceno's in trouble.
Picked off.
Almost picked off, and that would have been a coast-to-coast touchdown for Ivan De La Russa, and he lets the ground know about it.
Wow, man, I saw that one coming from out of the shadows there. Saraceno, I mean, you got to have as a quarterback, I know the kid's frustrated down 35-7, but you got to have a better look than that. It was a screen set up to the left side with Will Nixon, and what he did was he rolled out to the right. He tried to throw it back left, and we're going to get a good look at it here. Watch number 52 at the right side of your screen, Ivan De La Rosa. He just reads this perfectly, steps in front of Nixon. Nixon's not even looking for the ball yet, and I'll tell you something, if De La Rosa tucks that one away, it's 6.
Keith Bisignano was right in Saraceno's face immediately, so not a lot of time for Saraceno to make a decision, so he dumped it off in a hurry. From the 50, Huskies football, Maldonado still in the game, has a touchdown in the first quarter, a touchdown in the second quarter, a touchdown in the third quarter. We still have 1:44 left in the third quarter. And Maldonado has the ball. What a shot, breaks a tackle, fumbles, but he's rolled out of bounds at the 40. Right at the first down marker, they said he stepped out, and Pete, I don't think the crowd likes it.
Man, he gave a stiff arm in the backfield, and then he just ran over someone on the sideline. The problem is he stepped out of bounds before the ball came loose, and we'll get a real good look at it here. Watch this stiff arm he puts, boom, right there on number 55, who is Scott Hamill, and then he just takes out, watch the hit he lays on here, boom, he gave Todd Eiler a little something. I'll tell you something, that ball may have come loose before he did go out of bounds. But either way, even if he did
go out
fumble
of bounds.
even if he did fumble it, before he stepped out of bounds, the ball was recovered out of bounds, so it wouldn't have made much of a difference anyway.
We will have a measurement. And there it is again, Pete. Let's take a
Okay, now we're going to get a good look at it. He goes to give the stiff arm, and he actually lays a lick on Todd Eiler here. Boom. And the ball, let's see, Maldonado's still in play. The ball's loose, but it has to be, that is a loose ball. If we continue the replay, it has to be recovered by a defensive player in the field of play.
And it goes out
and
of
as
bounds.
you can see, that Eiler is out of bounds there as he's touching the ball, and the ball is recovered out of bounds, so it didn't make a difference anyway. But it was a live ball.
And Koza got a good job getting there, just a hair too late as it went out of bounds. They did not get the first down, so it's 2nd and inches from the 40. Still a minute 34 left. Huskies lead 35-7, led 14-0 after 1. Led 28-7 after 2. They lead 35-7. See if the video goes right over the top. No, they'll
wide
pass.
open. Wide open.
Should be a touchdown. It's a completion, and that's it because Servideo did not lead Heron, but it's a first down and an easy chunk of 25 yards or so.
Yeah, that was a good call by Artie Troilo, or if it was, it could have been, quite possibly could have been a checkoff by Servideo, but he saw that everybody was coming. He checked off, dumped it off to the tight end. You might want to get that pass going a little bit earlier and give the tight end a chance to be running with the ball, but they got the ball up in the air, and the good catch by Billy Heron, and it's a 25-yard gain. There's a good look at it. See how much air's under that ball? Heron had to actually wait for it, and then John Cotter makes a good play bringing him down, something that Rye has not done a good job of today, and that's tackling.
Servideo 4 for 7, 118 yards, and the 2 touchdowns. Listen to his completions: 27, 46, 34, 21.
He's had a day.
So is this guy. Maldonado looks for his 4th touchdown. Chalk it up. The 4th Sammy Maldonado touchdown, another 18 yards, and it is 41-7. And Pete, they're an extra point away from matching the score of last year's game, 42-7.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's very, very tough to contain a guy like Sam Maldonado. You know, poor tackling is just going to magnify everything, and it has been magnified tenfold by 4 touchdowns and well over 150 yards so far for Sam Maldonado, and we still have a quarter to go.
And even with the bad snap, the kick is good. It is 42-7, and Sam Maldonado, for the 2nd straight year, has 4 touchdowns in the Harrison Rye game. And Pete, this equals the most points Harrison has ever scored in this series.
Yeah, and the most points ever scored in this series were in 1954. Rye beat Harrison 45-0. So Harrison is a touchdown away from scoring more points than anyone has ever done in this storied rivalry. Just an off-tackle play, tough to see with from where the camera is on this side of the field, but just an off-tackle play, and Sammy breaks 2 more tackles and gets another 6.
Maldonado, 22 rushes, 217 yards, 4 touchdowns. And he's right at it. He's at 10 yards a carry today, under his 14.5 yard coming in. And you know, Pete, he's not just a regular season rusher. Last year, in 5 postseason games, including the state championship, the state semifinal, the regional final, the sectional final, 5 games, 1,100 yards. There's our latest Harrison scoring drive. 3 plays, 50 yards. Guess who from 18?
There's nothing regular about Sam Maldonado, be it during the season or during the postseason. There is nothing regular about this kid.
Harrison a quarter away from going 6-0 in the regular season, and their regular season would be over. It would be playoffs where 8 teams would make it from B. They'd have to win 3 games, possibly 1 more time against Rye. More likely, Somers would be the second of the 2. And the Garnets will have 36 ticks here in the quarter. That, by the way, is Ariel Martinez. He's number 30, part of the special teams unit for the Garnets.
It should be pointed out that, you know, Harrison, there are other guys on this team that have had some incredible contributions today. You know, Maldonado has his great rushing game in the 4 TDs and has broken it open with some big-time plays. But I'll tell you something, you know, Servideo has to get some credit. He has played an excellent game at quarterback. The offensive line has been strong. Maraglino has had some great blocks out of the fullback position. I'd love to be a 240-pound fullback in high school. But I'll tell you something, there are some other guys that need to get some credit. You know, Rudy Arcara has done a fabulous job on the defensive side as only a freshman. This is a very good team top to bottom. The only deterrent in looking at this team as a whole, and for the first time me seeing them for a full game this year, is they are very, very thin. There are only about 23 guys dressed, so that really means one injury takes out, you know, a big cog, a big piece of the puzzle in your team. So if they can avoid the injuries, I'll tell you, they have as much talent top to bottom as any team in the state, I'm sure.
Don't forget the Fails 2 touchdowns. Nixon, by the way, just ran for a first down for Rye. This should be our final play of the third quarter, and Stevens bursts ahead for 8. So 2 real good plays for the Garnets as the third quarter comes to an end. And before we go to break, let's go to Joe Lombardi.
We've talked a lot about the great crowd here today. In fact, some of them didn't even have to pay to get in. If you look at the wall over me here, no sign of Bob Euchre, guys, but these are the cheap seats. They're about 25 feet up, and these folks are hanging over, watching the game, taking in all the action for free. Back to you guys.
All right, we will take a break. There's an injured Husky down in the field, and we'll come back with the fourth quarter, maybe an injury update. It's 42-7 Harrison on the Cablevision High School football game of the week.
Having a little brother is really cool. We do lots of things together, and I have a good time with him. It feels good having someone look up to me. It makes me feel 10 feet tall. I just always want to be there for him.
Do you really want your little brother doing everything you do? Think about it.
Eric Lubitz, Peter Arciello, Joe Lombardi back for the fourth quarter. 42-7. It's been all Harrison. Rye with it. Saraceno complete over the middle. Complete to Basiglia inside the 40-yard line. Nice pop play. He goes for 16 yards.
Yeah, it was a good play, and Saraceno kind of shot-putted that ball there, but it got it to the big tight end, Peter Basiglia, at 6'2", 215. He made a good play, dragged some guys down the field. I still think that, you know, Dino should have been thrown to this kid much earlier in the game. He's a big kid. He's a strong kid, and it's the type of guy that you want to get the ball to in the middle of the field. I mean, look at him. Took 5 Huskies to bring him down. I mean, that's a guy. That guy should have had the ball much earlier.
Servideo made the tackle for Harrison. That's the biggest pass play of the game for Rye. They've had bigger plays from scrimmage. Stevens has had a couple of runs over 20. Nixon zigzagging, but just gets 4. Nixon's been held to just 36 yards rushing so far today. They've handled them well.
Yeah, our spotlight player on the Rise side has not had an opportunity to get too much going, but he had a good run there, and he's had a few good runs.
After this play, we'll head down to Joe Lombardi, barring a touchdown of any kind. Second down inside the 40. Koza's got running room to the outside. And he's all the way to the 25-yard line for Rye Garnet, first down.
It's a good play by Koza, that little inside handoff. He gets around the right end, and the junior gets some good positive yards, gets the first down. was interesting on that play. Sam Maldonado looks like he got popped in the mouth on that play, and he kind of just gave up on it. Didn't chase you. If you look at America, I know our viewers can't see it, but he's kind of hanging out in the back of the huddle. See him? He's just getting to his place now, and he may have gotten popped a little bit there.
Another Rye first down. We'll give you Joe after this play. And nothing doing.
Oh.
Stevens is picked up and thrown down by Maldonado in a big way. Well, maybe we'll see that, but first let's see Joe Lombardi.
It's with the exploits of Sam Maldonado and Harrison right now, we can look a little bit ahead. Maybe a sectional title game. Who will they play? Hen Hud a possibility? Somers? If they do play Somers, it would be an intriguing matchup. Brian Calandrucio, the two-way lineman for the Huskies. His cousin Brian is a two-way lineman for Somers. Back upstairs.
Well, they'd have to play Somers, it looks like, in the semifinal round if you want to think ahead 2 weeks from now. Hen Hud, they've already beaten 21-8. That would be a looming team in the finals. Saraceno with a nice pass to Koza. Short gain. And Pete, how about the play we just saw it before? Maldonado on defense where he lifted Stevens up, and let's watch it.
Well, the problem is that Mike Stevens makes one big error here. Watch this. He tries to go airborne. Watch him jump up in the air, and the minute he jumps, Maldonado, well, he didn't jump that much. Sammy just picked him up and took him for a ride. I told you, I think Sam had gotten, I think he got popped in the mouth the play before. I think he was just mad that play.
Don't want to get him mad. That play went for 5 on third down. Stevens, he'll be close to a first down, I think a little bit short. Right at the marker, we could have a measurement. Stevens over 60 yards rushing, leading ground gainer for Rye today. There's still 9:15 left in the fourth quarter, and we will have a measurement. And he'll be a little short. Pete will get a chance to look at the stats through 3 quarters of play. First off, more of Joe. Joseph.
Guys, I'm here. A lot of Harrison fans want to know how Tony Mazzulli is doing. Believe it or not, he broke his neck in a scrimmage against New Canaan. Miraculously, he's standing next to me. He's doing very well. He's here with his proud dad, who does a great job with Always Building, a construction company he's been following. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. I'm recovering. It's like a day-by-day process, but each day I'm feeling a lot better.
How did you get injured? Tell us about the injury and just the whole reaction, the thought process. It had to be a scary thing.
Yeah, at first, when I first broke it, I felt all numb from the neck down. I just fell to the ground, and it was a scary thing. But then I started moving a little bit, and it was kind of a relief.
How long did it take before you felt movement in your extremities after the injury?
About 2 minutes.
Oh, that's great. That's great. This team looks great right now. Everything's going so well. You don't want to jinx it, but you got to be thinking Carrier Dome right now.
Yeah, definitely. They're just rolling along right now. So it's insane. No one could stop Sammy.
We're gonna ask Sammy. Where do you think he's gonna go to college? What has he told you guys?
He's thinking about Florida State or Tennessee, some big school. So he'll probably do pretty well.
Thank you, Tony. You're doing very well. That's great to see. Thank you for joining us, and thank you and your dad for joining us. Thank you.
Saraceno just missed that one.
Yeah, he threw behind the receiver. He had him streaking across the middle was number 81.
Charlie Prade.
Charlie Prade, and Prade had a step on his defender, but Saraceno threw it a little bit behind him.
And that's a sign of a good coach. You know, you're down 42-7, but he wants every play to be run perfectly, and he's coaching out there, and that was frustrating because they had to play.
Well, there are 2 reasons. Number 1, there's still tomorrow. There's more games to be played this year. Number 2, this is a very junior-heavy team, and they'll all be back next year. If you don't start to get in the repetition of doing things right, you're never going to change it.
2nd and 10, Garnet. It's 8:42 left. Both teams still with their first unit in. Stevens doesn't get much. We never showed you the stats through 3 quarters, so hey, now seems like as good as ever, doesn't it? Sammy Maldonado, 217 yards through 3 quarters. The rest of the team -3. And nice job by Servideo, throwing for 118 yards. And surprisingly enough, 2 turnovers both on Harrison's side. If Rye turned it over, this one really could have been ugly.
Yeah, it sure could have been. But I'll tell you something. it is a nice balance with this Harrison team. 118 yards passing, 220 or 214 yards rushing, and I tell you, that's a great balance to have.
We continue now with the Class A schools. We showed you Double A earlier. And Class A also has 2 leagues, a North and a South, and the only one undefeated North, Peter, is Greeley.
Yeah, they're a good team. Billy Tribo's really got that program back together. We saw them in the at the county center. I was going to say at Memorial Field last year in Mount Vernon in the sectional finals, and they are a very, very strong football team.
Now, so Greeley and Brewster there will come out. In A South, you also have an undefeated team, and that is Nyack. The Nyack Indians, perfect 5-0, and a surprising Forchester 4-1, and their only loss and upset to Scarsdale.
Yeah, and we did that game, and they should have never lost that game. They were in command the whole first half, and then they just kind of fell apart in the second half. But I'll tell you, Nyack is a very, very strong team. I saw them dismantle Suffern 2 weeks ago, and they are a very, very good team, and they're going to play probably in the finals a very good Greeley team.
Yeah, and then again, watch out for Brewster. So the way it's set up in B, Somers, Henhud are tied. Henhud won the battle, though, so Henhud will come in first in B1 North, probably Somers second. And then you have also Peekskill third, so the third team there will have to play the second team in B South as it goes. If we look at B South, that's what you have here. So Rye could end up playing Peekskill in the first round of the B playoff.
Which would be a matchup of the first game of the year where Peekskill came out on top 40-14.
3rd and 10. Saraceno being rushed. Intercepted. Servideo. And he downs it in the end zone. Nobody there. No receiver within 5 yards. I think he was looking for Nixon. Something happened. That's the first turnover of the football game for the Garnets, and Servideo gets it done. And now let's see if we have a second unit, and it's frustrating. You know, but a lot of coaches against Harrison have looked like that throughout the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Dino's been around 20-some-odd years on the sidelines. He's a guy who has seen it all. He's been here for the good years and the bad, and he knows that when you run into a buzzsaw like this, you know, sometimes the fourth quarter is the longest quarter of them all. It feels like a whole game in itself. But Dino will be back. He's got a good young team, and they'll be back next season, including the starting quarterback, Saraceno, and I wouldn't be surprised if the roles are reversed next season for these two teams.
Maldonado still in the game, 8:04 to go, up by 5 touchdowns. As is Servideo. Although not a lot of players on the Huskies, so that's kind of why they have to do it. They don't have the luxury of having 40-plus players on the sideline. Put a second unit in.
Yeah, 5 yards, still first down.
Some people seem to think that you know, Artie has this run-it-up mentality, but you know, that's not his. It's not his personality. It's not the way he coaches. The problem is just flat-out numbers. He's got 22, 23 players dressed, and you know, there are a handful of those guys, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, that are not really varsity-level players at this point. So you know, he's got to keep the Sammy Maldonados and guys like that in the game.
That's how Harrison came in, with a police escort and 3 buses. The players, the cheerleaders, fans got here on their own. 8:04. There he is, Mark Maraglino, and he is across midfield, and he runs like a bull. First down.
You're just waiting for stuff to break when that guy touches the ball. He is just a bullet, 240 pounds, and he doesn't touch the ball often, but when he does, he can be explosive up the middle.
33 yards on that game.
Yeah, and he's actually going to leave the game. Looks like he's got a little cramp problem, how he's walking, but not very fast, but he is tough to tackle. We'll get a good look at it here. Good hole in the offensive line. Everybody's looking for Maldonado, and Maraglino goes up, and Mike Koza had a chance, but not a very good chance, because this kid is very, very tough to tackle, and as did Todd Eiler. And then finally he's dragged down 33 yards downfield.
And Maldonado picks up a 5 spot. He's over 220 yards rushing. approaching the 7-minute mark in this football game. 42-7 Harrison. It was 14-7 at one point, and it looked like a game, not a yawner.
Yeah, that point was long, long ago for the Rye Garnets.
Now it's 42-7. 40-yard line. Again, the all-time record for most points scored in this game, 1954, Rye at 45. This is the most Harrison's ever scored, equaling the number they got last year. And when you tackle Sammy Maldonado in the backfield, you did something right. And they did right there. That was number 45, Jeff Romanak, as Rye gets some of their second unit in, and he made a great play.
Yeah, he made a very good play, and Sammy trying to get a little fancy there with a little spin move, and he gets dropped in the backfield for a loss.
Joe Lombardi's on the sideline. Joseph?
All right, guys, as of course we all know, this is the end of an illustrious 4-year varsity career for Sam Maldonado. Will Rudy Arcara be next? A freshman starting for Harrison. Talking to a lot of folks from the Huskies today. They're very excited about his future. Number 1 for Harrison. Back upstairs.
Yeah, he's a great kicker. He's played offense, he's played defense. And don't forget, Maldonado's a freshman when Ralph Saldiveri was the star here. Went on to find college career at Iona College. And there's another nice play by Rye's defense, which Pete hasn't quit.
No, they haven't quit, and you've got to give Dino Garr and his staff a lot of credit. These guys are not packing it in. They're going to fight to the end. And that's what you want out of your football team. You want a bunch of guys who are going to go in there 11 at a time and fight, as long as they can fight. This is one of the weaknesses of Harrison. They're in a game that's an absolute blowout, up by 35 points, but they can't pull the starters out because they're so thin, so to speak, in terms of reserves. So they've got a lot of guys in there. They become a little bit complacent. They become a little bit sloppy in how they play, and that's why you see a guy like Maldonado, get dropped for 2 consecutive losses there.
Maldonado's first punt of the day, and it's perfect, and it's recovered. Let's see, they're not in the end zone. It's inside the 5-yard line as Cotter booted it, and Rye will start deep in their own territory, down 42-7. Pete, let's continue now as we're up to the Class C schools, and they also have 2 different leagues, CA and CB. In CA, Nanuet, clearly the best here. They shut out Dover last week, so they'll be seated first of AC, and Dover will be number 2. And then in B, Westlake, possible state championship team right here in our section this year. Westlake will be seeded 1. Edgemont Magnus play today as we're playing in this game here. The winner of that will be 2, and we'll probably have to match up against Nanuet just to win and get back to play Westlake again.
Yeah, Westlake, it's tough to call them a state championship caliber team right now because they lack one great thing, and that's the experience. They lack the having been in the playoffs experience. This was a program that, before Ralph Nicoletti got there 5 years ago, they were dead. It was a dead program. So they've done a nice job reviving it, and they've got some good players. And, we'll see what goes on there. But, we'll move on to the Ds. I'd be interested to see what happens with Westlake.
In D, Bronxville Hastings. They're in yellow because that's our game next week. Broncos 3-2 on the season. Valhalla, undefeated. They still have to beat Tuckahoe, though, to win the league and secure number 1 in D.
And that should be a good game. Tuckahoe's got a good running back. Valhalla's got some good veterans who've come back, 2-3-year starters. So it should be interesting to see that matchup.
Ball sits on the 3-yard line. And Rye's defense has had to drink a lot of water today. Keeping up with Sammy. You hear the band playing, both bands here. There's lots of food, lots of pageantry. Pete, this stuff goes on every year. The big crowd, the band, the food. But when it's a real competitive game, it really makes this a special day.
Yeah, the atmosphere is tremendous at a Rye Harrison game, as it is at some other great rivalries. We for years at Cablevision did either White Plains Stepanak or New Rochelle against Iona Prep, and those have the same type atmosphere. It's good. It's real good for high school football.
Tipped and almost intercepted. Koza The intended receiver, Saraceno, whipped it in, maybe a bit high.
It's a bit high. It's also a tough pass to catch because you got to extend yourself coming across the middle with the chance that the corner's going to come over and pop you one. And Koza got a little alligator arms there and kind of short-armed it a little bit, but I would too. That's not an easy catch to make across the middle against this defense.
Some of the other big rivalries in Westchester up in the north part, Mahopac Carmel. Eastchester Tucko a big one. They do not play anymore. Well, they do. Nixon have a first down. So 10, maybe 11 for Will Nixon. And the fourth first down for the Garnets in the fourth quarter. As you recall, they had a nice drive last time they had it, although it ended in an interception. You know, the Yonkers schools, Roosevelt Gorton is certainly a big one. White Plains and Rochelle is a big one. White Plains Mount Vernon's the longest rivalry in the section. To the 30-yard line goes Nixon. So was that Cotter or Nixon? That was Cotter. Yeah, so 17 yards and a Garnet first down to Cotter. Cotter has caught 3 balls now for 30 yards and the 1 touchdown.
Yeah, and that was a pass that was it should have been picked off. Ken Fusco, the backup defensive back for Harrison, came in, went for the interception, missed it, and Cotter made the catch and got the first down.
Some of the second unit in now for both teams. Short gainer, nothing much there. That was their fullback, picked up maybe 1. Mike Stevens. Stevens, 67 yards rushing. Certainly had a good game, one of the captains for Coach Dino Gar. Dino Gar, by the way, is assisted by Tom Maloney, Peter Panagos. The Huskies, Art Troyle's assistant, Steve Williams, Joe Ranello, Rich Palladino, John Steubenvall. We are at the 4-minute warning at a quiet Rye High School where it's been all Huskies. 28-7 at the half, and they have not let up. 42-7, the exact score of last year's game. Total dominance. And 28-0 before that. Plenty of time for Saraceno. Goes for it, has a man, but he overthrew Koza, and it goes incomplete. Pete, 1996, Sam Maldonado is a freshman. He plays in this game. Harrison's undefeated at the time. Rye shuts him out 7-0. The next 3 years, 28-0, 42-7, 42-7. Like we said earlier, don't get him mad. Don't get Joe Lombardi mad. He's got something, Joe.
Eric, you just mentioned the coaching staff of Harrison. Of course, Rich Palladino, the former head coach at Scarsdale, as well as Rhinebeck and Fox Lane. This is his first year as an assistant with his friend Art Troilo Jr. Back upstairs.
Yep, longtime Scarsdale coach, one of the finer coaches.
Yeah, Coach Powell, he can really do it. I tell you, that is and we don't catch him in a picture there. I think he just walked off and talked to somebody, but I will tell you one thing. You know, you put Artie Troilo and Coach Powell together, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch. That's as good as, almost a good catch there. That 1-2 punch is almost as good as Maraglino and Maldonado.
That was intended for Todd Eiler, and that goes incomplete. Yeah, longtime Scarsdale coach, coached also at Fox Lane. One of the finest football minds in the county, for sure. And obviously he loves football because he's on the sidelines as an assistant, so doesn't want to not be involved with high school football. 3:33 to go. 4th down, Garnets. They've had many of these, and they will go. Koza, bottom of your screen, off the screen. They go the other way, and it's incomplete again. And a lot of passes have gone in and out of Garnet hands. That was Charlie Prade, although they've been tough catches.
Yeah, again, not really a great pass. You know, you got to lead the receiver. You can't throw it behind him like that. And that's a couple times that Saraceno's gotten the pass behind his receiver, and the receiver hasn't been able to make the catch. Saraceno comes off, and he's just not He's just very, very frustrated, and as well he should be at 42-7, down 42-7 in the big Harrison Rye game. But this kid will live to play another day. He's got his whole senior year ahead of him, as well as potentially a playoff year later in this season. I mean, Rye still has an opportunity to advance into the playoffs, and who knows? Maybe meet Harrison at some point down the line again.
Pete, next week we'll be in Hastings for the Bronxville Broncos and the Hastings Yellow Jackets. And you can see that game 8 o'clock, as usual, Saturday night, right here on Cablevision, the high school football game of the week. And the Huskies, for some reason, call the timeout. Beautiful football day, and you know, apparently Maldonado likes to run. He says he likes to run on a cool day. Doesn't like a real hot day. It's a real hot day today, but hasn't really stopped it.
Yeah, it hasn't. You know, we said that the only thing that really holds them back is the fact that they are a very thin team. I think the reason why Artie Troilo called that timeout was to try to get some new kids in the game. Maybe we'll give a few of their numbers as we see next week's matchup. Looks like Andrew Weiniger, a big 230-pound freshman, number 70, is in the game for Harrison. And I think they may have a new center in there as well. But number 56, who we don't have listed, but I think maybe Frank Riccardi. He's an offensive lineman, a junior. Looks like he's in the game. And we do have a new center in the game. And that's Matt Dunning.
And also
senior.
a new quarterback. And that's Rob Felice, their backup quarterback, number 7. So for the final 3:24, it will be Felice, and it will be Arcara getting right at the first down marker to the 20-yard line. He should have a first down. That's the 3rd carry of the game for Arcara. Rudy Arcara, the freshman running back, linebacker, kicker. It's so important to have a top-notch kicker as you head down to sectional finals and then regionals, and now you're going to be playing undefeated teams as well. And everyone already is pointing to a Harrison-Lackawanna rematch for the state championship. Of course, you never know, but they had most of their team back. They defeated Harrison in a thriller last year by 4 points. And people are looking at that to be the Class B championship game back in Syracuse again this year, and it's kind of hard to dispute.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then, though.
And that time, Arcara goes backwards. Scott Hamill, 50. And Vinny DiCarlo, 40, converge. The backup quarterback, Rob Felice, is a junior. Next year, no Servideo, no Maraglino, no Maldonado, no Justin Williams.
That's enough.
No Bill Heron, no Rich Lambiase, no Charles Veet, no Ryan Calandruccio. And it goes on. A senior-laden team.
But it's a team that's worked hard. A lot of these kids have been on varsity since their sophomore year, and they've worked very hard, and they've built a championship team, possibly a state championship team.
Zampella getting his first carry. He caught a touchdown if you recall, which was called back earlier. That's the first carry for Mike Zampella. Number 2, we are approaching 2 minutes left in this football game. The Huskies will go to 6-0, a perfect 6-0. And Rye will fall to 4-2. And Rye will be in the same position as Harrison. They will probably, from the look of the standings, play Peekskill. And if they won that, they'd be in the Final Four of B with, you would think, Henhud, Somers, and Harrison. Arcara bursting his way to another first down inside the 10-yard line. And the Huskies with their 11th first down of the ball game. And now, Pete, is it rubbing it in if you try to score here as you approach a minute?
Well, you know, I mean, they have all of the guys who are the backups in the lineup right now, so you know, it might be interesting for Artie. You know, 68 years of this rivalry, to be the guy who coached the team that scored the most points ever. I don't know. I mean, that's not Artie's personality. That's not the way he coaches or the way he wants his kids to learn. But, you know, you just got to continue to play, and they're running just dive plays. It's not like they're throwing the ball, but they're running dive plays. And as we approach a minute left in the game, if they get in, I don't think by any way, shape, or form it would be considered a, you know, an ill sportsmanlike type manner.
Arcara gets tackled at the line of scrimmage, which is the 6-yard line. At the bottom of the pile is 52 John Canetto for the Garnets, making the fine tackle as we are under a minute 40 seconds and maybe just one more play in this one. The 68th meeting between Harrison and Rye. Harrison will now take a 38-27 3-lead in the series, as they've really dominated in the last decade or so. The pitch, Zampella looks for the end zone, and he scores. With 11 seconds left, he scores, and you know, Pete, if next year truly is Rye's year, and if they are better, and if they are leading, you can be sure they will remember that.
Yeah, I don't think by any means was that meant to be running it up. It was just a toss play.
There's a flag on the play.
And the flag is against the Garnets, so the touchdown goes. It is 48-7. And Pete, they have not put the points up on the board.
Now 48-7.
Yeah, 48-7, the most points ever scored in the Harrison-Rye matchup. And Pete, you know what? That's the most points scored by an individual team. I'm trying to add up to see if there's been more than 55 combined, and I don't believe there has. Yeah, this game's setting all sorts of offensive records. Yeah, in fact, this is the most points scored by one team and the most points scored total, 55. And now the Garnets will call timeout. And Pete, what is going on here? Why these timeouts? Dino Gar's talking to an official. Is he upset that they scored that touchdown? Now, Artie, see, let's see. Uh-oh. That was not. This is not a friendly confrontation between these two coaches.
Well, you know, I've got to disagree with Dino on this one. You know, I don't think there was nothing out of the ordinary that happened there. That you know, I mean, could Artie have taken a knee? Yes, I guess he could have. But he had a bunch of kids in there who really had no time in the game. And let me tell you something. I've known Dino for a long time. I respect him as a coach. But I tell you something, Dino would never let an opportunity like that slip in by either. He'd be the guy who would put it in the end zone just as much as anybody else. So, you know, I mean, you look at the numbers that are out there, not one of those kids is a starter. So, you know, I don't see how Dino can, you know, how he could be upset with that.
And now they take a knee on the extra point. So it's 48-7. And I don't know.
I mean, how do you, the question is this. How do you not allow the kids to have an opportunity to play the game? How do you put kids in you know, late in the game situation like that and not give them the opportunity to play? How could you have a kid sit on the bench for 3.5 quarters and then say, okay, go in, I want you to take a knee for 4 downs?
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back with the exciting final 11 seconds. It's 48-7 Harrison. The Huskies to kick 48-7. 11 ticks to go here in this one, and then it will be in the record books. And that's the way it's gone today for Harrison. Jeff Romanak covers, and they'll have a play or two. 9 seconds left. Our most valuable player, as you might have known, is Sam Maldonado. Maldonado with 220 yards rushing today.
Wait a second. Did we vote on that?
No, Pete, we're not going to let you or Joe get a vote in that.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
an automatic.
unbelievable how this is a dictatorship.
Well, who would you vote for?
Let's see. I've got to go with Maldonado.
You think so? Some of their second unit did a fine job.
Yeah, they did.
They did get the ball on.
Maybe
the
we
court.
should just give it to one of those guys so, so Dino sees that one of those other guys gets recognition and it wasn't actually running it up. It was a superb 30-yard drive.
And Joe Lombardi will be talking with Sam Maldonado and Art Troyell Jr. immediately following this play. So Rye takes the knee. And I think that was smart of Dino Guard there. Rather than, now let's see, the coaches will shake, and the coaches, okay, they shook, and that seemed to be okay.